FM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It is great to be in your company this morning. Come, let us spend the next 3 hours together, informing and engaging each other and sharpening each other's perspectives on the key issues of the day. Here's what's coming up on the show, just a few highlights of some of the ground that we're going to cover together over the next 3 hours. Did you happen to watch the Portfolio Committee on Sport, that meeting of the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture, which took place last week? That grilling really that they had, that grilling session of Netball South Africa and the Netball World Cup 2023 Local Organizing Committee. My goodness, to say that it was a train wreck is an understatement. It was a disaster of a showing by those officials who are in charge of governing the sport last week. But it has highlighted the concerns about the governance of Netball South Africa. These representatives of the sport governing body were unable to answer questions from MPs, including accountability for the failure by the Netball World Cup Local Organizing Committee to finalize a closeout report with financials about the hosting of the 2023 Netball World Cup. You remember that took place in Cape Town 2023, and 2 years later, there's still no closeout report, no financials that are audited to be presented. So they took a beating in Parliament. So it's raised concern, as I say, with a few people who are involved in the sport voicing their concern about the state of governance and what it means for the popularity and growth of the sport that provides one of the few pathways really for professional sport or for sport at a high level for girl children in particular. So we'll be talking to Mimi Mthethwa, who is the former Netball South Africa president, and that conversation is coming up at about 20 to 7 this morning. Then in the second hour at the top of 7, we'll bring back the conversation we had about 2 weeks ago about Advocate Dalimpofu Senior Counsel, who will today face his day of reckoning with the Legal Practice Council. This as his professional misconduct hearing gets underway. But in the backdrop, debates playing themselves out about this whole process. The Pan-African Bar Association of South Africa, PABASA, issuing a strongly worded letter about a week ago to the chairperson of the Legal Practice Council, expressing their deep concern over what they describe as spurious and politically motivated charges against Advocate Dalimpofu, who is, of course, PABASA's Secretary General. So at the top of 7, we'll be speaking to Professor Isaac Shai, who will be laying out and explaining what their concerns are about this process. Are they saying that Advocate Dalimpofu should not be held to account, even if, as happened in this case, there have been complaints that have been laid? Will be one of the questions that I will be putting to Professor Isaac Shai. Then I want to tell you this very quickly. You don't often hear extensive reporting on consequence management for corruption at local government level. You hear us talk a lot about the rot, and the scourge of corruption at local government level, but you hardly ever hear where there has been consequence management. Well, the case at the Bellville Commercial Crimes Court that involves the former Cedarburg Municipality Deputy Mayor Benjamin Zass is one of those exceptions where he has been convicted of fraud and contravening the Municipal Finance Management Act, MFMA. There was a scheme, a whole scheme really. The municipality wanted to buy school dresses for underprivileged children, and then they called for quotations, and the service provider gave a quotation, and lo and behold, shortly thereafter, saw 20,000 rand in their account, and then a few minutes later they were told, hey, actually, we've decided as a municipality we'll do this in-house and do it ourselves, pay back that money, but don't give it back in cash, withdraw it, don't give it back through a transfer, withdraw it and hand it over to me in cash. That, in summary, was the scheme that has landed this former deputy mayor in trouble, having been convicted, as I say. So that conversation with Karam Singh of Corruption Watch, a consultant at Corruption Watch, is coming up at about 10 to 7 this morning. The full morning brief team is primed and ready once again with your updates throughout the morning. And Musa at the news desk, Rob Byrne on traffic, Zaikan at the sports desk, Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief. And guess what? She's in studio, live and direct this morning. Dowling Lechela has your business and market updates, and Sipho Mantula with your Africa update at about 20 to 7. Your calls, please put them through to 086 000 2032. I'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. And on social media, we are at SAFM Radio on X, SAFM Radio on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, we are live on our YouTube channel, SAFM Radio. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this show started.
They say fortune can change lives, but does it change who you are? From Engutu to Durban, twins born into struggle, now with millions in their hands, but with wealth comes division. One twin raised with responsibility, the other treated like royalty. Two paths, one dream, Maskandi greatness. Brand new telenovela, Amalanga Wafani, where money, family and betrayal collide. Starts April 2025, weekdays at 6:30, only on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
At 14 minutes after 6, let's say good morning to Melissa Puta with the morning brief in brief. It's good to have you in studio in person.
Thank you for having me.
Not many people are keen to wake up this early and come through. Talk to me about what we are hearing and what we'll be able to report about the search for the 3 police constables that started last week.
So, Thulas, this is a big one. The National Commissioner, Fani Masemula, has confirmed that the 3 missing Free State police officers were amongst the 5 bodies that were recovered from the Henops River in Centurion. This was quite a case that people were shocked about, because how do people just disappear out of nowhere? So the 3 constables, Ucebekulu Linda, who's 24, Kiamogetswe Bais, who's 30, and Boipelo Senoge, who's 24, went missing last week Wednesday when they were traveling from Bloemfontein to Limpopo for their deployment. The families have positively identified them yesterday, and the police also confirmed that one of the other 2 bodies that were found were a Littleton police officer. So search operations are still ongoing because they still have to find the vehicle that these police officers were traveling in.
Yeah, it's one of those tragic stories, and we had all hoped for a better ending than what we've ended up with. And we will play back a clip from what the police commissioner had to say yesterday. Tell me about what the Transport Ministry has been saying about the poor state of roads and how they contribute to accidents.
So yesterday, the Transport Ministry reported the official stats from the Easter period, and they're saying that 11 out of the 141 road fatalities were caused by poor road infrastructure, including potholes and faulty traffic lights. And despite the infrastructure issues, they are saying that driver behaviors remains the leading causes for road fatalities. And the Minister, Barbara Creasy, announced good news that said that a significant decrease has been, seen in road fatalities from 307 last year to only 167 this year. It's still quite high, but it's way better than what it was. And they're saying that traffic operations will continue nationwide to reduce future fatalities on the roads.
Yeah. And then your last story that you are highlighting, Melissa, is a story we touched on yesterday, the fire on Table Mountain. What's the latest update from there?
So good news here is that SANParks has confirmed that the wildfire affecting Table Mountain National Park has been contained. However, there has been quite a lot of damage that has been caused by this. Over 3,000 or around 3,000 rather hectares of land has been destroyed due to this fire. People are still a bit displaced. However, safety and restoration remains the top priority for the officials.
All right, that's Melissa Puta with the morning brief in studio for today. She's undertaken that this will be the new norm every morning. I'm just kidding.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
17 minutes after 6. Here's how your weather will be looking on this Wednesday morning. 2 warnings coming through from the South African Weather Service. The first, a yellow level 2 warning, disruptive rain leading to localized flooding of settlements and roads, damage to mud-built houses. Those conditions are expected over the extreme northeastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Then you have a yellow level 1 warning. It says severe thunderstorms leading to severe thunderstorms leading to large amounts of small hail over an open area, as well as localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges. Those conditions are expected over the southern parts of the Northern Cape. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria will be partly cloudy with a minimum of 11 and a maximum of 23. Johannesburg, partly cloudy, 11 to 22. Mbombela, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 26. Bulukwane, partly cloudy, 13 to 26. Mahikeng, partly cloudy and windy, 14 to 26. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy, windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 10 to 22. Kimberley will be partly cloudy, windy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 15 to 26. Uppington will be partly cloudy, windy, isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 26. Cape Town will be cloudy in the morning with isolated rain and showers, 14 to 17. George will be cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 13 to 16. Gqeberha will be cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 17 to 19. East London will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 18 to 23. Durban will see morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 16 to 25. Richards Bay will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers in the morning, otherwise partly cloudy, 20 to 27. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog patches, otherwise cloudy, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and rain, 14 to 25.
Your Sunday nights are about to get big on S3. We have some of the biggest movie titles that will take you on adventures that you simply cannot miss. Thomas arrives in a glade at the center of a giant maze. The race to escape the maze leads him to a journey. Should they escape, all questions will be answered. Tune into The Maze Runner, Sunday, the 27th of April. Maze Runner Darth Cure on the 4th of May. Maze Runner The Scorch Trials on the 11th of May. S3 Blockbuster Movies, Sundays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
It takes a while before these arch rivals meet in the final. But when they do, everything stops. Nabi is confident to delight the Amakhosi fans.
If the fans love Kaizer Chiefs, automatically love Nabi.
While the back-to-back victor, Rivero, chases the third consecutive title.
Whenever it's time to go, we're going with the intention to be competitive, to try to be better than the opponent.
This is the Nedbank Cup final. Witness the Soweto Derby. Gold and Black battles it out with Black and White on Saturday, 10 May at 4:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
21 minutes after 6, the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal Party has secured victory in the country's general election, which was held on Monday, completing a stunning electoral comeback for a political outfit that had all but been written off about 10 months ago. While the Liberals have not secured an outright majority and will need the support of their smaller political rivals to govern, they have done enough to lead the next government and stave off what once seemed like a certain victory for the Conservative Party of Pierre Poilievre. So let's speak to Devin Murugan, who is the Toronto-based journalist at Halton News, a former SABC News anchor and journalist. Good morning to you, Devin, and thank you for agreeing to stay up late there in Canada to speak to me once again. So what clinched it for the Liberals? Why did the Liberals win and the Conservatives lose?
That's a very famous question. Good morning, Thulas. The thing is, up until, as you correctly point out, up until even 2 months ago, it was almost certain that the Conservatives will take a hold in this election. But then, the famous thing that happened in the United States, the US President Donald Trump's tariff threats comes in, talk of making Canada the 51st state, looming large over this election. It made Canadians all of a sudden very, very anxious to us. And what it did was it turned leadership and economic survival into central issues for this election. So previously, you had people really concerned about what's happening with the economy, what's happening with the cost of living, crime was going up. But in comes Donald Trump, and it changed so much. And who else to provide that solution? But Mark Carney comes in when Justin Trudeau leaves, and they just saw a solution with Mark Carney to us. And I do believe that there are a number of issues, but that may have swung it.
Yeah. And he's a political newcomer, isn't he, Devin? This is someone with a background in central banking. You and I spoke about him a few months ago. What about him resonated and made Canadians believe that he's the man for the moment?
You correctly say that Mark Carney's political debut was nothing short of stunning. Months ago, he was the former central bank governor with no political or elected experience. He's now the prime minister. I mean, that's the first in Canada's history to win the job without ever holding public office. And he stepped in at the right time after Trudeau's exit. He won the Liberal leadership. Then his party went on to secure this national victory. Now, you're quite right. It's 169 votes. You need 172 for a majority government. He does have a minority government, but bottom line is that, his economic credibility reassured anxious voters at a time when it was very significant. Had this election been held on another day, we could be having a different conversation, but it came in at a moment that was quite sort of apt for Mark Carney.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Trump Carney Canada dynamic. What now? What comes next? I mean, there was a strong message that Mark Carney delivered immediately after being elected. And part of that message, it had to do with the US President, Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, just given the texture of why the electorate actually behaved the way they did, and that's not taking anything away from the Conservatives here, just to diverge a little bit before I answer your question, Pierre Poilievre made a crucial mistake here. When Justin Trudeau had left, he didn't readapt his message. He still rang out at get rid of Trudeau, and Trudeau messed up the country, but Trudeau was long and gone. He had handed his resignation in January. And here you have Pierre Poilievre not realigning his message, and that brought him down. And the Trump thing was the big thing, Mark Carney was fighting not just Poilievre, but on the other side of the border, Donald Trump. And as you correctly said, that's a big priority of him now. He's got to sit down with Donald Trump. They've already had conversations over the past 2 days, Donald Trump congratulating him. Canada faces enormously big tariffs, and we don't know when that will end. It could strangle this country economically. He's going to have to sit down and see how we can cushion this. So that's a very big first priority. And then, let's look, bread and butter issues are going to come up again. Trump will always be there, but the anxiety might not always be full force. So, the Canadians are going to start saying, hey, my house is still expensive. Food still costs a lot of money. Crime's going up. So he's going to have to very quickly develop policies to sort of cushion that to us.
Yeah, and I was reading some of the comments that he was making, Devin, talking about Trump, that Donald Trump wanted to break us, quote unquote, and basically so that the United States can own us. He wanted to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen. Just lastly, Devin, what does the path to the formation of government look like? I heard you talk about a minority government. I presume and understand that it suggests a parliamentary system that's almost comparable to what happens in the United Kingdom and to a certain degree what we have in South Africa.
Yeah, look, simply put, I mean, the other two parties, which was one of them being the New Democrat Party, it collapsed literally in this election. Everyone just migrated towards the Liberals. But for what little they have there, the Liberals will now have to actually use their support to pass any laws or to pass budgets, very similar to what happens in other sort of parliaments. So that just makes things a little bit more tedious. It's going to take a little longer to get these things done. So they would have wanted to be fully mandated, but they didn't meet it. They're in a minority government. And I think over the next 2 weeks, you're going to start hearing about what the cabinet fabric looks like from Mark Carney. He's going to go into and address Parliament over the next 2 weeks and speak about how he's going to fulfill his election promises. He doesn't get sworn in, by the way, Thulas, because he's already, in that position. So it's going to be a tough job ahead of him now once the anxiety over Trump, and it will simmer down, and he's going to have to face the music, I think, at some point.
Devin, thank you. Get some well-deserved rest. I know that election coverage can be quite taxing and exacting on your point.
You know what I mean.
That's Devin Murugan. He's the Toronto-based journalist at Halton News. He's a former SABC News anchor and journalist.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So things went pear-shaped for us out in Colombo.
I know, from a flying start and then to just falling flat.
Yeah.
That's how it went. The Proteas, the women, just running out of steam. And this is as they were handed a 15-run defeat to India in their opening match of the 2-week ODI tri-series that's taking place in Colombo. Chasing 277, South Africa got off to a flying start. 140-run opening partnership between Laura Wolfart and Tasman Brits, who scored a superb 109. But Brits was forced to retire with heat and exhaustion, and the middle order couldn't hold their nerve. India's Sneha Rana took 5 for 43 as the Proteas women lost their final 5 wickets in just 13 balls, ending on 261 all out. Here's captain Laura Wolfart.
Taz batted absolutely amazing, and the partnership that we had, I think, set it up quite well. Unfortunate that we lost our way a bit with the bat, but yeah, still a great effort. I think 277 was always going to be a tough chase, and yeah, I think the whole time throughout that opening partnership, and probably until about the last over, to be fair, we still had a lot of firepower in that lineup, and I kept believing that one of them would hit a few balls over the field, but yeah, felt just short and very disappointing after such a long and good game.
Soccer news. Vidad Athletic Club has granted Rulani Mokoena special leave until the end of the season, after which they will part ways despite a squad revamp that improved their standings from last year's 6th place to 3rd. The team has struggled to meet their goal of qualifying for the CAF Champions League. 6 consecutive draws have left them 6 points behind 2nd place RS Bikan, with only 3 games remaining, prompting the decision to let go of their South African coach. Elsewhere, Arsenal have it all to do if they want to reach the Champions League final after Ousmane Dembele's early goal handled Paris Saint-Germain a 1-0 victory at the Emirates Stadium. In the meantime, the Barcelona star Lamine Yamal says he's focused on being himself and not on comparisons to Lionel Messi ahead of the Champions League semi-final clash against Inter Milan tonight. The 17-year-old star has become a key figure on the right flank, where Barca's all-time top goal scorer Messi operated for many years, with both players coming through their La Masia Youth Academy. And finally, tennis. The top seed Aryna Sabalenka through to her 3rd consecutive Madrid Open final. So is the defending champion Iga Swiatek. And that's where we leave it for now. We'll have more sport for you. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Rwanda's foreign minister has confirmed he's facilitating the movement of SADC troops and equipment from Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo through his country and into Tanzania for repatriation. Police are still searching for the vehicle in which 3 deceased officers were travelling in. The constables' bodies were retrieved from the Henops River in Centurion yesterday. They went missing on Wednesday last week. And US President Donald Trump has the lowest 100-day job approval rating of any president in the past 80 years. He boasted of achievements and says the period has been the most successful in US history. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
So the N11 is still closed. This is yesterday afternoon's tanker crash, which is still being attended to. It's a HAZChem incident. They're still having to decant from the tanker that crashed into another one. So the N11 just south of Loskop Dam, just sort of Kransport Pass area. That's where it's closed. If you go in Groblersdale, Middelburg, you will look for alternative routes this morning around that one until it's obviously reopened. Pretoria's Dustport Tunnel scheduled for a closure today at 9 a.m. That'll go in. It'll affect traffic on Bremer and Transorania with some diversions required around that one as well. Durban, the N2, extra slow heading north this morning into the roadworks of Westwood Mall. There is a breakdown just north of Spaghetti Junction in that construction zone, which is already pushing a heavy queue back as far as the M7 Bluff exit. Cape Town, no traffic lights this morning. Robert Sobukwe, 35th Avenue, Stellenbosch Arterial. It's a big junction just on the north side of the airport. There are delays on all approaches into that, and just up the road a little bit further, Delaray and Robert Sobukwe, those lights offline as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For the first update of the morning, let's say good morning to Ndauling Lechela. Ndauling, we start with the United States President, Donald Trump. It's hard to now make heads or tails as to which direction he's going with some of these strategies, the tariffs and its trade policies. Tell me what's the latest around his stance on automakers?
Morning, Tula. So we've been seeing a number of stakeholders having conversations with the Trump administration. This includes companies as well as countries. I mean, last week we had talks, Trump rather had talks with retailers, and it seems like automakers have also went in and talked to the Trump administration. And this has resulted in US President Donald Trump taking steps to ease the impact of new tariffs on the car industry. Now, the tariffs, which were introduced in March, imposed a 25% tax on imported cars and parts. Trump's latest decision aims to provide relief to car manufacturers with U.S. factories by allowing them to reduce the amount they pay in import taxes on foreign parts. Now, the new plan will allow car makers to claim an offset for tariffs paid on car parts worth up to 3.75% of the suggested retail price of cars assembled in the United States. The offset will decrease to 2.5% in the second year. Now, major car manufacturers, including General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, have welcomed the decision. They had previously expressed concerns that the tariffs would lead to higher prices, lower sales, and increased costs for consumers. The changes are seen as a positive step for the industry, which is a significant employer and contributor to the U.S. economy. Now, the tariffs, according to the Trump administration, were initially introduced to promote domestic car manufacturing and protect national security. But the auto industry relies heavily on global supply chains, and the tariffs had sparked uncertainty and concern among manufacturers, with many car manufacturers warning of those price increases. I mean, just yesterday before the announcement, General Motors was out with results and they pulled their forecast on tariff uncertainty. So it'll be interesting to see whether, it'll make adjustments following this move.
Yeah, there seems to be a method to the madness, though. Break things quickly and flood the zone are some of the stock phrases that you keep hearing from time to time. Tell me about what Adidas has been saying then about prices in the United States.
That's right. Adidas just joining a number of companies, Tulas, warning that President Trump's tariffs will lead to higher prices for its products in the country. Now, CEO Bjorn Gulden stated that the tariffs, particularly those imposed on goods from China, will increase costs for Adidas's products sold in the U.S. market. While Adidas has minimized its exports from China to the U.S., the company remains exposed to the tariffs. Now, the duties will affect Adidas's recovery efforts following a challenging period triggered by the end of its partnership with Kanye West. Now, while first quarter numbers came in strong, Adidas has decided not to raise its full-year outlook due to uncertainty surrounding those duties. Now, Golden emphasized that the company will focus on delivering better results in other markets to compensate for the potential impact of the tariffs on the U.S. market. The group said the tariffs are expected to have a more significant impact on its performance in the third quarter of its financial year.
Lastly, Dowling, please give us our first roundup of market activity for the morning.
So starting things off in Wall Street, stocks closed in positive territory overnight. This as trade talks between the U.S. and some of its trading partners progress. A softening of auto tariffs also fueling sentiment. And with that, the Dow Jones leading the gains on that front, up 0.75% overnight. And then coming back home, green screens on the JSE as well, with the all share closing above the 91,000 points mark, gaining 0.65%. The rand in the meantime still steady, not much changes in the currency markets. It's sitting at 18.54 to the greenback this hour. Then moving over to Asia, stocks mostly in the green. We are though seeing some concern on that front around growth fears, and that's really spooking traders there.
All right, that's Ntauling Lechela with the first report of the morning. She'll be back with more insights for you just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. We start in the DRC once again, and that's because there's been significant progress, and this has to do with the withdrawal of the Summit DRC troops.
Thulas, Jambo African, and good morning to the listeners. Thulas, the Summit DRC mission in the DRC is slowly and gradually withdrawing from Goma and Sake. We are talking about the TCC, the troop contributing countries, Malawi, South Africa, Tanzania are being withdrawn from the bases in Goma and Sake. Not very clear to us because there is no update from the SADC or the East Africa community, neither from the directorates in the military forces of South Africa, Tanzania and Malawi. But on the Twitter streets, they've been seeing things moving out to us. And remember, there are two passages there. It's Burundi, it's Rwanda. And they are going to where? To Chato. Chato is in the northwest part of Tanzania. And that's where others are announcing that when the M23 told us they were inspecting equipment of the SADC mission, there was some much irritation to the soldiers. But they are moving out to us of the three bases, and others are happy. After the Battle of Goma in January, where we lost 14 soldiers, but also the quick reaction force to us have maimed and killed many of the M23 forces. So it is not all about numbers to us. It's that the Battle of Goma had consequences, but now we see our SADC mission troops coming back home in different parts.
And then in West Africa, in the Sahel, Sipho, tell me about these three countries, right? They keep coming back over and over again. Their maneuvers at various levels. We keep covering them. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Tell me about this interesting development involving them and access to the ocean.
So that remember, even if today there is a world campaign against Traore for his campaign in terms of solidarity. What we see foreign affairs ministers yesterday going to Morocco, Rabat, a meeting with the king, and finalizing what last year actually to us in 2023-24, when Morocco said that they will facilitate a trade initiative for access to the Atlantic Ocean for trade, particularly after ECOWAS to us imposed trade restrictions on the three Sahelan states, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Hence, one can say that they are moving to us, despite that, there's a tension between Morocco, Algeria, on the question of the Sahelan states. But the three foreign affairs ministers yesterday, they were able to have that deal to us of access to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and I see that our boy was in South Africa. We'll always call him that, Sipho, because that's what he said we should call him, that when we look at him, we should say, this is our boy.
That is quite true. I was thinking about it too last. The boy is mine. That's so trendy.
The boy is ours.
Mine was around fun yesterday. But even Spuka, Jika Majika, was in Botswana too last. You can see how the two visit they are coinciding. Duma Boko visit President Ramaphosa yesterday, as well as our Minister of Electricity in Gaborone. But the one of yesterday too last, very important because it was his first visit as the President of Botswana to engage with President Ramaphosa on bilateral issues of trade. Remember, there were issues around agricultural products that were not allowed from South Africa to Botswana. Now they've agreed on it. The meeting also yesterday, Thulas, was around understanding the linkages, what we call social cohesion and nation building among states, how to build what they call a good international relations, because you cannot come with political, economic diplomacy without what I call the soft power, cultural diplomacy among the neighbors. But the issue of trade came very clear to us, and the issue, like I said, of energy partnership, how to strengthen the issue around the electricity generation supply and interconnectivity between Gaborone and Tshwane.
Yeah. And then lastly, in your historical archives, Sipho, tell me about what happened on the 30th of April, 1958.
Thulas, he's turning 67 today. I don't know whether our listeners will still even recall it. Now, the Premier of Gauteng, the third Premier of Gauteng from 1999 to 2008, former SG of Kwasatu, co-founder of COPE, was born in Olifantshoek in the then Transvaal, now Limpopo. We talk about Mbazima Samuel Sam Shilua. To that one memory, maybe initiative that we can recall, which I'm always using every morning, is what we call Shilua Express, the South train. Sometimes it's got delays, but it is waiting to us. This was the first premier who also rolled out the HIV and AIDS policy when it was not fashionable during those years. But as you know, life it is in another way. It's now a political commentator and a columnist on News 24. He's no longer into politics.
Absolutely.
Asante sana Thulas, as was sitting in the conversation, SAFM observing the Freedom Month.
Thank you for that, Sipho. The man who made a red socks trend way before you had those fancy socks that people wear these days. I seem to recall that Mbazi Mashiloa was known for wearing his red socks quite proudly. As Sipho is pointing out, his birthday is today. Happy birthday to him.
They say fortune can change lives, but does it change who you are? From Engotu to Durban, twins born into struggle, now with millions in their hands. But with wealth comes division. One twin raised with responsibility, the other treated like royalty. Two paths, one dream, Maskandi greatness. Brand new telenovela, Amalanga Wafani, where money, family and betrayal collide. Starts April 2025, weekdays at 6:30, only on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bakkie to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Hashtag your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
15 minutes to 7. Let's turn to this. It's an important issue. Netball South Africa is facing its most serious leadership crisis in years following World Netball's suspension of its president, Cecilia Molokwane, over allegations of misconduct and mismanagement. The unfolding turmoil has shocked many, but comes as no surprise to some former NSA Netball South Africa officials who warn that the chaos now threatens the future of the sport in the country. So let's bring into the conversation Mimi Mthethwa, who is the former Netball South Africa president. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So I happened to watch that interaction between the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture and the Netball South Africa and Netball World Cup representatives. And I was saying earlier on that it was a train wreck. There were so many questions that the MPs had, ordinary questions that you would expect the administrators to be able to answer, but they were simply not. How representative is what we saw on that day of the state of netball, particularly netball administration in the country?
Good morning, Thulasizwe and your listeners. First of all, let me just say it's important for people to know that I haven't been in netball and I don't really know what's happening right now. I left netball in 2017. So to me, it was also shocking for me to witness what I saw on the day when they were called by the Sport Portfolio Committee. But then I don't think that that is representative of what's really happening in netball right now. I think it's important for us to remember that a federation has got players and has got administrators. Right now, I feel like the sport, as far as playing the sport is concerned, is going on well. There might be challenges here and there. There might be a number of things that we don't know about, but I'm confident that there is still netball in the country. When it comes to administration, I wouldn't really want to commit myself to making comments because I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, but surely you would have a view on this issue of the closeout report and the financials that relate to the hosting of the Netball World Cup, which was funded in part through, public funding of some 90 million rand. The fact that that closeout report and the audited financials have still not been presented some more than 2 years after the tournament completed was an issue of great concern, especially among the MPs.
And I think to all of us South Africans who understand that a federation is an accountable entity, and who also understand that national federations are governed by an Act, Sports and Recreation Act. It was an Act 110 of 1998, which was amended, and it's now Act 18 of 2007. This Act outlines the responsibilities that government and SASCOC have on the oversight role that they should play above the federations. So to me, it was really shocking to get to know that 2 years back we had a World Cup and there has not been a report, especially because the report was going to focus mainly on the funding that was given by government to the tune of 90 million. It was my first time to hear that they were given 90 million rands in support of hosting the World Cup. So it's really a concern because I don't think we would be, accepting that a federation which has got an executive that should look at the daily running of its functions, a federation that has got council who form the people who make that federation, like council are districts, are provinces that form the base of people who should look at good governance as far as netball is concerned. So to me, I was a little bit confused as to why and how it happened that up to now there has been no report when there are a number of people that should have made sure that the report is there. I do understand I listened to the World Cup board explaining that there are challenges. But to me, if I were to be given an opportunity to ask questions, I would just ask them. The report is not only a report of what happened after the World Cup. The World Cup started a long time ago when they were preparing for it. Yeah. So there are a number of activities that would have happened before the actual event happened. And I believe that on a monthly basis they would be having meetings where they are checking whether they are still on track with everything that they expected. So, and also, I say, there is SASCOC and there is also a Sport and Recreation. If there were challenges, I would assume that all of them would come together and talk about those challenges. So I'm talking from outside.
Yes.
I might not really understand the depth of the challenges.
And I appreciate that. Lastly, let me ask you what's at stake here. The nature of things, the way that our society works, the patriarchal nature means that there are few opportunities for girls and women to play sport at the highest level and enjoy the kinds of sponsorships and the perks that come with being a professional athlete. This is a sport that at one point in time seemed to be providing a pathway and had this boost with the hosting of the World Cup in 2023. But as we heard in that hearing, there are pieces of equipment that can't be accounted for. There are monies being spent on influencers that can't be named. No one can say who this influencer is. There's NSA condolences. Money's flying in every direction. What's at stake in terms of getting the administration right as it relates to getting young children playing netball at school level, at local level?
I think, Thulasizwe, we must still have hope as South Africans because, like I say, it's not only Netball South Africa that must clean their house, but there are a number of stakeholders that give support to them. So I still believe that if we separate administration and playing, then we're still going to get it right because we've come from a long way to be where we are. Netball is a brand now because a lot of us put in our effort. I came after some leaders had been there before, and I found that they had built a foundation on which I built whatever I brought into. So I'm still hopeful that when everybody comes together, puts their head together, things are still going to turn out the way we would expect as South Africans. Yeah. And I feel that there is a lot of hope now in young girls and boys who play netball, and we wouldn't want to be the people who destroy that.
100%. Got you. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Mimi Mthethwa, former Netball South Africa president.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're just joining us, a couple of reminders about Mpumalanga traffic this morning. The N11 closed straight through from Middelburg through the Loskop Dam. There's a truck that overturned yesterday. In fact, it's a tanker, and it's rated HAZChem, so they're still busy recovering that. The road closed just south of Kransport Pass area. R555 would probably come into play as the alternative, I guess, out from Middelburg through to Groblersdale, but that'll be the long way round. Also very misty around the sort of Bethel side of Mpumalanga, around Bethel out to Secunda sort of area. Just take it easy, please, on roads out that way. The mist and fog is quite thick. Crash on Joburg's N3 north at Galuli. So another busy morning as you line up from the cement factory. Now, if you're on your way from Durban to Pietermaritzburg, crash between Cliffdale and Hammersdale. All of a sudden, that traffic very heavy, pushing back towards Key Ridge. A breakdown north of Spaghetti Junction in the roadworks by Westwood Mall. So that's a super heavy backlog this morning, just north of the cement factories where you'll pick up that queue. And pretty heavy congestion around Cape Town, just top of the airport area. Lights are down. Stellenbosch Arterial, Robert Sobukwe. So that's all very slow. And getting there on Stellenbosch Arterial in from Delft, there's also a crash near Erica Drive. So you got the crash and then you got the faulty traffic lights. Stellenbosch Arterial and Robert Sobukwe are both heavily congested. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
SABC Technology Business is a unit which provides services to internal and external clients. Our strategic objective is to ensure that SABC has the appropriate and reliable technological infrastructure for production, post-production, digital media content available to the public. Our range includes IP portable production studio facilities and the digitization of legacy content. Our outside broadcast vans, fully equipped to follow you anywhere and everywhere. For competitive pricing, contact Bookings Facilities at sabc.co.za.
Hey gorgeous, want to keep your glam game strong and your bank account happy? It's time for big beauty savings at Dis-Chem. We're talking next level flawless skin with a whopping 30% off Eucerin, Neutroderma, Dermatin and Bioderma, and 20% off the hottest beauty brands like L'Oreal, Revlon, Yardley, Maybelline, LA Girl, Palladio, all in one place. Shop big beauty savings at Dis-Chem and slay while you save. Hurry, deals end 11 May.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So we want to bring you this story. The Bellville Commercial Crimes Court convicting former Cedarburg Municipality Deputy Mayor Benjamin Zas of fraud and contravening the Municipal Finance Management Act, MFMA. This follows a scheme in which he unlawfully diverted public funds meant for disadvantaged school children. Sentencing proceedings are scheduled for the 29th of May 2025. The guilty verdict relates to a tender scam in which Zas instructed a supplier who had received 20,000 rand payment from the municipality for supply of school dresses for 100 children to return the money to him in hard cash instead of depositing it into the municipal account. So let's bring in Karam Singh, who is the consultant at Corruption Watch and a former executive director, who joins us now on the line. Karam, good morning and thank you for your time. How significant is this conviction? I was saying earlier on that we report extensively about malfeasance and corruption at local government level, but you hardly ever hear about a case being pursued, even if the amount involved is not so significant, in the sense that in the bigger scheme of things, it's 20,000 rand. But we've seen it to conclusion with a conviction. How significant is it?
Good morning, Thulas. Thank you. No, I think it really is significant. The Municipal Finance Management Act is a really important piece of legislation that sits along the Public Finance Management Act. We know that corruption is rampant at local government, and as you say, we've seen so few prosecutions over the years. So despite the amounts being relatively small, I think we have to see this as a victory for accountability, certainly in this case.
And the scheme was brazen, wasn't it? I mean, instructing this, for starters, this person gives a quotation for how much they would charge to procure and supply these 100 dresses, school dresses, and shortly thereafter they receive a payment of 20,000 rand, and thereafter they are told, actually withdraw it and hand it over to me in hard cash as opposed to returning it to the municipal account. It's quite brazen.
Brazen indeed, and quite obvious. From when the supplier received that call that this was irregular criminal activity. But that's unfortunately the way corruption functions. And the brazenness that we've seen in terms of the supporting corrupt schemes has even involved, whistleblowers and other people putting themselves in harm's way, and assassinations and the like. So, unfortunately, that's the nature of the kind of crime that we see these days in the country.
What do we glean into the workings of these schemes, particularly as they relate to the involvement of someone who serves in the executive? This is someone who was a deputy mayor as opposed to someone in the administration. This is not a former municipal manager or a senior director within local government.
Look, we've seen all sorts of different schemes. The role players may change from administrators, from officials to people in different branches of government. So we've seen this before, and I'm sure we'll see these types of allegations emerging again.
Karam, how do we build on this such that this doesn't become, the exception to the norm? Such that it is known that if you engage in these kinds of schemes, including at local government level, the norm is that you are likely to face consequences. For instance, I was struck by the number of people that actually came forward and were part of the prosecution's, witnesses, including a former driver of the deputy mayor, as well as the supplier themselves, who had been asked to engage in this kind of scheme. So are there lessons we can draw from this and build on it?
Possibly. Unfortunately, we go case by case when it comes to these matters. So whoever was involved in investigating this matter, whoever was involved in the prosecution and putting the case together, need to be congratulated. Certainly the MPA must do a forensic review of the case to say, how did the stars align in this case? Is this the kind of template that we can use to build future cases? Because, we've got these high-profile state capture cases now in front of the courts that seem to be dragging along very slowly. One would always assume that if state witnesses could be secured in these cases, as we saw in a case like the DBS case, that prosecutions could follow more easily. So, it's for the MPA really to draw the lessons in collaboration with those involved in the investigation. And yes, perhaps it could be a template for future local government investigations.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights. That's Karam Singh. He's a consultant at Corruption Watch and its former executive director. Let's check in now with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, Rwanda's foreign minister facilitating SADC troops out of DRC and police still searching for vehicle of deceased officers. Good morning. Rwanda's foreign minister has confirmed he's facilitating the movement of SADC troops and equipment from Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo through his country and into Tanzania for repatriation. SADC terminated the deployment of its troops to the DRC last month. Operations were halted due to a major advance of Rwandan-backed M23 rebels in eastern DRC. Shawan Bryce-Peace reports.
Rwanda's Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe confirmed to SABC News that they were providing safe passage to Sami DRC and the equipment from their troop-contributing countries, which include South Africa, Malawi and Tanzania. SADC decided to terminate its deployment in eastern Congo following the deaths of 17 soldiers, bringing their December 2023 deployment to help restore peace in eastern Congo in support of the DRC government to a rapid end. Sami DRC troops were confined to their bases for months following the Rwandan-backed M23 advance in the region. Reports suggest the Sami DRC convoy will travel to Chato in northwestern Tanzania before repatriation to various countries.
Police are still searching for the vehicle in which 3 deceased officers were travelling in. The constables' bodies were retrieved from the Henops River in Centurion yesterday. They went missing on Wednesday last week. The officers had been travelling from Bloemfontein to Limpopo on deployment. Family members have identified the bodies of the loved ones at a mortuary in Pretoria. The officer's vehicle was last seen travelling in the northern direction on the N1. 2 other bodies were retrieved from the river. One was a police clerk and the other was found in a state of decomposition. National Police Commissioner Fani Masimula.
The search is still continuing as we have not yet found the vehicle. Our investigation is continuing. We do not want to speculate at this stage. We have partially some closure in that we found the 3 members or 4 members, and we are still continuing the search with a view to find the vehicle, and the investigation will reveal as to what has happened. We do not want to jump into conclusions, but at this stage we can say yes, we have seen where the vehicle went into, the embankment went into the river.
Meanwhile, the father of one of the deceased police officers has expressed relief that a body has been found. Boipelo Sonoge's father, Paul, says all he wanted was to find his daughter's body.
It's painful looking for someone who is far from you, not knowing where they are. So I'm just relieved that I found my child's body. Now I know where her body is and we can lay her to rest. That's what matters, that I found her body, so I am relieved. Boipelo was a darling to me. She was my friend. We were really close and we used to communicate whenever she was traveling. I'm relieved. The police did their work. They found what we were looking for, which is my child's body.
A non-governmental organisation, Women to Women, have welcomed the Northern Cape Correctional Services Department suspension of a senior official accused of raping a female colleague. It's not clear when the alleged rape incident happened. The Kimberley-based organisation's founder, Priscilla Smith.
We are very, very, very disturbed about this incident that happened at correctional services. We really want this, the government really to we plead to our government just really to intervene, and so that this process can be completed so that this woman can find healing, because we are really tired, because gender-based violence and rape are increasing. It's not getting better, so it's increasing. That's why we are really crying out and for government to really intervene so that justice can prevail.
Further afield, and finally, US President Donald Trump has the lowest 100-day job approval rating of any president in the past 80 years. He has boasted of achievements and says the period has been the most successful in US history. Trump addressed a rally in Michigan. The BBC's David Willis reports.
Addressing an enthusiastic crowd in Michigan, home to much of America's automotive industry, President Trump said car companies were now lining up, as he put it, to open new manufacturing plants in the state. The auto industry is crucial to this country's manufacturing base, a sector of the economy that Mr. Trump has vowed to rejuvenate, although earlier in the day he was forced to row back on another key element of his economic plan, tariffs on the import of foreign cars and car parts.
Recapping the top story, Rwanda's foreign minister has confirmed he is facilitating the movement of SADC troops and equipment from Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo through his country and into Tanzania for repatriation. SADC terminated the deployment of its troops to the DRC last month. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
When last did you shop around for a real deal on your car insurance? Switch to Outsurance and you could save big every month. Gordon, a 44-year-old man, is a real Outsurance client who saves a mind-boggling 2,794 Rand a month on his 2019 Ford Everest 2-litre automatic. Isn't it time you got the real deal? Don't pay more. Switch and save today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, Durban absolutely heaving again this morning. A breakdown on the N2 North after Spaghetti Junction to the roadworks. That traffic is extreme. It's all the way back to the cement factory. So if you're coming from the south coast, you want to get up through Durban on your way to the airport, make sure you've got a ton of time to get through there. Major delays between Keeridge and Hammersdale. That is a crash this morning on the N3 heading up towards Pietermaritzburg, and that is a heavy queue as well. Joburg, another morning of disruption on the N3 running north with a crash at Galuli. So traffic there from the cement factory area all backed up. N11 between Middelburg and Groblersdale closed around Kransport Pass. That is to recover yesterday's tanker crash. The R555 will probably be the alternative route, but it will be the long way round. And Cape Town, really solid traffic just north of the airport. Lights are out along Robert Sobukwe at the major 35th Avenue, Stellenbosch Arterial Junction. So that's all heavy. Up the road, Robert Sobukwe and Delaray is down as well. The traffic is significantly backlogged. You'll even feel that leaving the airport on Borchard's Quarry, where you queue just to get in to start that climb up through Robert Sobukwe. So very heavy delays in that part of Cape Town. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, it's cricket action. Tasman Brits shining with the century, but cramps and a collapse cost the Proteas the win against India. And we'll look at the story of Siyabonga Ngezana, who has flourished in Europe after being overlooked at home. Details just before 7:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Wednesday. It's great to be in your company. We are into the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM. Here's what's coming up over the next few minutes. We'll focus on the appearance and the hearing that is going to be held by the Legal Practice Council into the conduct of Advocate Dalimpofu Senior Counsel. You'll remember that about 2 weeks ago, we had a conversation with Advocate Mpofu, and now, ahead of the start of the hearing, you are seeing the commentary around it, as well as the differing views about what's really at play here. You know, really contrasting views. You have, on the one hand, organizations such as PABASA, that is the Pan-African Bar Association of South Africa, who are basically opposed to this process and saying that the charges against Advocate Mpofu are frivolous and are driven by certain agendas that mean to discredit black legal professionals. So in the next few minutes, I'll be speaking to Professor Isaac Shai, who is a member of the NEC of PABASA, that is the Pan-African Bar Association of South Africa. But on the other hand, you have other organizations. CASAC comes to mind. The organization, I think Public Interest SA, have also weighed in and in fact are concerned about the letter that PABASA has written to the Legal Practice Council and saying that it sort of has a tone about it that doesn't sit well with organizations such as Public Interest South Africa. So we're in conversation with Professor Isaac Shai over the next few minutes. And then we'll focus a bit on the outcomes that have come through from the Department of Transport. They've been reporting about road crashes and fatalities over the Easter period, and there's been a notable drop in the number of crashes and fatalities over Easter 2025 compared to the same period last year. So we'll talk to Eleanor Mavimbela of the Automobile Association about what some of the factors at play are, and also including what Melissa told us a bit earlier on, that in a number of those crashes that we did see over the Easter period, a few of them had to do with infrastructure, road infrastructure, so non-functioning traffic lights and potholes and things like those. You know, those kind of common problems that we talk about from time to time. That conversation is coming up at about 20 past the hour. I'll welcome your calls. Weigh in on these and other matters that may be exercising your mind. Give me a call. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. I'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. The second hour of the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Rise and shine every weekday morning on Expresso.
Now, whether it's a motivational Monday or even a Health Tuesday, this is the best way to start your day.
Let our trending tech keep you ahead of the curve.
Join us online and vote in our fashion poll.
Elevate your cooking skills every Wednesday.
It's the best and morning entertainment.
So wake up with us.
6 to 9 a.m. on S3.
Cheers.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
13 minutes after 7. Advocate Dalimpofu Senior Counsel will today face his day of reckoning with the Legal Practice Council as his professional misconduct hearing gets underway. The Pan-African Bar Association of South Africa, PABASA, has issued a strongly worded letter to the chairperson of the Legal Practice Council, and that letter coming through last week. In it, they express deep concern over what they describe as spurious and politically motivated charges against PABASA's Secretary General, Advocate Dalimpofu. The letter, signed by the NEC of PABASA, accuses the LPC of allowing itself to be used to target African advocates and warns that the charges risk undermining the integrity of the legal profession's regulatory framework. So let's speak to Professor Isaac Shai. He's a member of the NEC of PABASA and joins me now for that conversation. Good morning to you. What about this process, don't you trust? What about this process has led you to concluding that it risks having the regulatory framework abused to target African advocates?
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I think context is very important in this case, particularly for the benefit of the listeners.
Yeah.
As to why the letter was couched in the manner that it was. As an organization, we are animated by the unceasing quest for justice. And equally, we are animated by our deep contempt for injustice. You know, in a truly democratic society, dissent and opposition are cherished and not frowned upon under the pretense of the rule of law. And it's important that we mention the fact that we are going to fiercely resist any attempts to create a one-dimensional society and attempts to paralyze critique. You know, the notion that is dominant that we are a a post-racial society is actually nonsensical. Because we all know that South Africa remains largely an anti-black society, particularly within the context of the legal fraternity. And equally, the notion that law is separate from politics is actually, frankly speaking, theoretically bankrupt. And that is the context within which Pabasa drafted and sent the letter to the LPC. Now, coming to the letter, you've correctly said that we've characterized the charges as spurious, and in another sense, they are quite surreal and have a nightmarish quality about the charges of a nightmarish quality about them. And our approach to the LPC in our letter is actually contrary to what is being peddled. Our approach is actually dialogical, and it is spiraling in the sense that whilst we seek to caution the LPC, we nonetheless appreciate, we state it in paragraph 3 of the letter, that we appreciate the fact that the LPC is clothed with legislative authority to deal with misconduct. So, in a way, our letter is an appeal to say, let us overcome lower forms of thought and raise the bar, literally and figuratively.
But your letter and your intervention has not been so welcomed in some quarters. Advocate Pule Seleka, who chairs the Legal Practice Council, in response, saying that, quote, we wish to clarify that we consider it inappropriate for any professional body to seek to intervene in a pending disciplinary matter in the manner suggested in your letter. Is it that you don't believe that there'll be due process? So let's say, accepting your arguments about those that laid the complaints against Advocate Dalimpofu being motivated by certain motives that you've spelled out, but do you not have trust that the system will hold? That there's enough in the system that will allow it to hold such that he will get due process?
Well, there's no contradiction between the observance of due process and us sounding caution to the LPC. There isn't whatsoever. We've stated in the letter that we are not necessarily saying that the proceedings or due process should not take place. However, we are worried. We are worried that there is a pattern that is disturbing when it comes to African legal practitioners and broadly African professionals.
Yeah.
So we have said that the idea that we should simply keep quiet and remember that Advocate Mpofu SC is also our member.
Yeah.
And in fact, contrary to those who peddle this nonsense, what has happened recently, just on the eve of the hearing, is that 3 charges have been withdrawn. The charges relating to Professor Madonsela, the charges relating to Mr. Kyanki, and the charges relating to the Chief Justice have been withdrawn, and largely because of our intervention.
Right. So from what you're telling me, the only charges that now remain are the ones that have to do, if I recall correctly now, with the writing of that letter, which the judges in the Moyo matter took exception to and asked for it to be followed through. The charges relating to his cross-examination of Johan van Lochrenberg, in which reference to mental health was made. Am I correct in that recollection? I think there's one more charge that I can't recall at this moment.
You are correct, although as we have said, that we believe that even the remaining charges are nevertheless spurious and won't hold.
Are they frivolous and spurious in the way that they are framed, suggesting that, for instance, in the Van Lochrenberg matter, and I raised this with Advocate Mpofu, and I'm not seeking to prosecute this matter on air, but just for someone listening, are they objectively frivolous when there's a suggestion that in his cross-examination of Johan van Lochrenberg, for example, he alluded to his mental health in a manner that, sort of, in a way, diminished the witness's dignity and was talking about a personal mental health issue that he was dealing with. Is that frivolous?
They are both objectively and subjectively frivolous. And they are an attempt to interfere in independence of legal practitioners. How else, for those who are aware with court processes, how else do you cross-examine a witness without discrediting their evidence? This is elementary. That is why we conclude that both in appearance and in essence, they are spacious charges and have no place in society.
All right, I've got to leave it there because of time. Thank you for your time this morning. Professor Isaac Shayi is a member of the National Executive Committee of the Pan-African Bar Association, PABASA. So there you have it. That hearing gets underway later on today. And as you heard from Professor Shayi there, some of those charges, we are told, have now been dropped following their intervention.
Save and win a car with Spar, for real. Stand to win one of 50 fiery red Hyundai Grand i10 sedans. Buy any participating products and swipe your rewards card to enter. Get Huggies Gold, nappies or nappy pants, jumbo pack for $189.99. Plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or Spar 2-ply toilet rolls, 18s for $99.99. Plus 250 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid until 6 May while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
The Spanish Princess series continues the story of Queen Catherine and Henry VIII. Catherine's struggle to produce an heir places her marriage and position in the court at risk, and she's haunted by her choices from the past. Despite proving herself a politician, a diplomat, and a national inspiration, and even a military commander, Catherine must battle to save her love with the king and to preserve the peace and prosperity of their reign. The Spanish Princess Season 2 airs Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So the Automobile Association of South Africa, the AA, has welcomed the notable drop in road crashes and fatalities during the Easter 2025 period. With Easter road deaths falling to their lowest in 3 years, the AA attributes this success to proactive planning, coordinated enforcement and collaboration across public and private sectors. Let's speak to Eleanor Mavimbela, who is Automobile Association spokesperson. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So it's a 32.5% decrease in road crashes and a 45.6% decrease in fatalities. What were the factors that you believe contributed to this outcome?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. As you've noted from our press release that we sent out yesterday, we definitely do think that early coordination as well as increased visibility of law enforcement and strong partnerships a high indicator of the effectiveness in terms of reducing the crashes and the fatalities that you just spoke of earlier. So definitely do think those three factors played a huge role, and it also indicates for us that the change is possible with regards to reversing the trajectory in terms of road crashes and fatalities on South African roads, especially in a time like the Easter travel period that we know is unfortunately brings about the highest number of crashes and fatalities on our roads. So for us, it's a good start to the year, and we definitely do think that we should carry on the momentum from this point on throughout the rest of 2025.
How exactly do we do that? Because human factors continued to account for those crashes that happened and many of those fatalities. So driver behavior, for example, how do we ensure that we build on the momentum that you say we've gained from this Easter period?
We definitely are encouraged by the fact that drivers, motorists have taken the call and heeded the call when we rolled out our public awareness educational campaigns from the beginning of the Easter period in conjunction with our other stakeholders in the transport sector. And we are encouraged that motorists are now carrying on the culture of behaving better on the roads. But as the Automobile Association, we also do think that, as the minister stated, that over 80% of the crashes are because of driver behavior. We also do think that other factors do play a part, such as infrastructure, road infrastructure, as well as roadworthiness of vehicles. So those do also feed into driver behavior, feed into that high number of crashes and fatalities that we see on our roads.
And part of the statistics released by the Department of Transport and the Minister tells us that 11 of the 141 road crashes, road deaths during the Easter period were caused by poor road infrastructure, including potholes and faulty traffic lights. 11 out of all these deaths and crashes. It's not an insignificant number. It shouldn't be a feature that we're talking about, poor infrastructure contributing to road deaths.
It's something, that's why we say the Automobile Association, we should be able to fix the parts of the value chain that we can take control of, like infrastructure as well as vehicle roadworthiness. Those crashes or those fatalities could have been avoided. It's not a small number. Hence, we say the Automobile Association, the minister can say that majority is driver behavior, but we also have to look at the lack of proper road infrastructure, as well as the fact that we are not amplifying enough the messages with regards to the importance of ensuring that your vehicle is fit for purpose before you drive on the road.
Yeah. And lastly, and very briefly, does the target of halving road deaths, road fatalities by 2029, does it remain within reach in line with the UN SDGs?
We definitely are encouraged. We are optimistic. Looking at the numbers that we got from the Easter period, that it is something that we can actually reach. As we are committed as the Automobile Association to assist where we can in terms of at least reaching the 50% or even a bigger average in terms of with the reduction in number of crashes and fatalities. Previously, over the past 3 years, we've seen a worrying and concerning increase in terms of crashes and fatalities. But these numbers over the Easter periods are quite encouraging, and hence we are saying we need to carry on the momentum from 2025 onwards so that we are able to reach the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That is Eleanor Mavimbela, who is Automobile Association spokesperson.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Welcome to it. We'll start with Tasman Britt scoring a brilliant 109 in Colombo, but her heroic knock not enough as the Proteas women fell 15 runs short against India in their ODI Tri-Series opener. Britt retired hurt with cramps after reaching her century, but returned late in the innings only to be dismissed shortly after. South Africa's middle and lower order collapsed dramatically, losing their last 5 wickets in just 13 balls. Let's hear from Tasman Britt.
Yeah, I was hoping I didn't have to come back on due to the cramps, but I'm always eager to try and contribute and help the team where I can. Yeah, it's not always a nice feeling. Sometimes I wonder if I maybe batted a bit longer or pushed myself a bit more, maybe we wouldn't have been in that situation, but I guess at the end of the day that is cricket. And yeah, of course I would have loved to get the team over the line. Yeah, so I think in general the heat over here on the subcontinents and the humidity is something that no South African is actually used to. So it was a bit tough for me, especially with us fielding first in 50 overs. And then batting, of course, so long. So yeah, I got a few cramps and I struggled a bit, but yeah, the heat definitely won today.
Soccer news. FIFA is to fund research on whether hormonal fluctuations during menstrual cycles could be contributing to the rise in anterior cruciate ligament injuries in women's football. The year-long study at Kingston University in London will begin next month. Research suggests female footballers are 2 to 6 times more likely to suffer the injuries than their male counterparts. More soccer. South Africa will hope to get off the mark in the CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. Tonight they take on Tanzania in Group A at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismailia tonight, 6 p.m. Now, South Africa lost their opener to Egypt's 1-0, while Tanzania had a bye in the opening round of games. And finally, elsewhere, Arsenal have it all to play for to reach the Champions League final after Ousmane Dembele's early goal handed Paris Saint-Germain a 1-0 victory at the Emirates Stadium. Mikel Arteta's side now face an uphill battle in next week's second leg in Paris.
We are half-time, and my message has been exactly the same. Post Real Madrid at home, 3-0. Is we have to go to Paris and win the game, and we are more than capable of doing it because I saw two very good teams where the margins are so small. Yeah, you want to win the Champions League final, you have to do something special, and we're going to have to do something special in Paris to be there.
And that's a wrap of the Morning Brief Sport. More top of the hour. I'm Zaikan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will this afternoon brief the media on the technical process to be undertaken regarding the 2025 budget. His deputy ministers as well as the Director General will accompany him at the media briefing in Pretoria. The families of the 3 police officers who died on their way from Bloemfontein to Polokwane say the discovery of their bodies has given them some closure. The bodies were retrieved from the Henops River in Centurion. And Rwanda's foreign minister has confirmed he's facilitating the movement of SADC troops and equipment from the eastern DRC through his country and into Tanzania for repatriation. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We're starting Joburg with busy conditions again on the N3, running north as queues from Germiston through to Galules, and then from Linbro Park to Marlborough Drive over to Buccleuch. There's a secondary queue as well. Durban had a busy one yesterday, and following that up with another busy one on the roads this morning. A breakdown north of Spaghetti Junction in the roadworks on the N2. That's a heavy queue that starts right back at Cement Factory. Big traffic as well from Key Ridge up to Hammersdale. That is a crash before you get to Hammersdale. If you're on your way to Pietermaritzburg, that old road route could come in through Hillcrest, Bottas Hill. Come back on it in Chunga, or come back on at Cato Ridge and just work your way through that. Cato, pretty easy conditions this morning, although the N1 inbound, there's a crash at Kubo, get a change, and a little bit of activity around the Woodstock exit. So coming through from Century City, the M1 in towards that Lower Church Street exit very slow. Behind that Marine Drive quite badly, backed up through Parton Island, and the Belhar and Motterdam area really struggling. Lights are out on Stellenbosch Arterial, Robert Sobukwe 35th, and Robert Sobukwe at Delaray. So there's a lot of traffic congestion just north of the airport area. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. The business update on SAFM.
And for this hour, let's start with Ndauling talking about telecoms. Ndauling, good morning to you. Tell me about Samsung and their performance. You're saying that it has exceeded analysts' expectations.
That's right, Thulas. The firm had an upbeat first quarter, exceeding analyst expectations during the period, and this was mainly driven by strong sales of its flagship Galaxy S25 smartphone and memory chips, particularly expanded server DRAM sales. Now, the company posted a record quarterly revenue of 79.1 trillion Korean won, up 10% from the same period last year, and an operating profit of 6.7 trillion Korean won, a 1.5% increase from the previous period. Both revenue and operating profit marginally topped Samsung's forecast and analyst estimates. Despite these positive results, though, Samsung flagged macroeconomic uncertainties due to, of course, trade tensions and slowing global growth, but it expects its performance to improve in the second half of the year, assuming these uncertainties diminish and more of the US's trading partners, including South Korea, reach trade deals.
So, Ndauling, usually you challenge me with acronyms and you throw them at me. But today, you actually helped me to figure out what an acronym stands for. I never knew that CMH stands for Combined Motor Holdings. Tell me about them and the report that has come through from them.
So they're basically a car company. They sell cars. They also have units where they rent out cars. And I think it's really all in the name, right?
Yes.
And the group the group reporting a 26% decline in profits for the year ending February, citing strain on margins due to consumers being cautious with big ticket items and a price war among rental competitors. The company's CEO, Jeb McIntosh, added that high interest rates, uncertainty, and rand weakness also weighed on the company's performance. Now, the group's car rental division, First Car Rental, was one of the most affected units, with a 45% decline in pre-tax profit due to intense competition and margin pressure. McIntosh noted that the new car market has been stagnant for 5 years, with only 10 million of 65 million South Africans able to afford a vehicle. The group has restructured its car rental business in the meantime to focus on smaller vehicles and has seen a steady and favorable used car market. Despite the challenges, though, CMH expects a potential rebound in the 2025 new car market, driven by positive economic indicators and the resilience in the last quarter of 2024. This has been noted in those new car vehicle sales, where we started seeing, a pickup and a rise from December 2024. But they have warned that the depressed average daily hire rate in the car rental market is expected to continue until competitors adjust their fleets and pricing strategies.
Tell us then once again, Dowling, what's the lay of the land in as far as the US market, Asian markets, and the markets here at home go?
We're kicking things off in Asia. Markets on that front mostly in positive territory, with the exception of the Shanghai index, and this as factory activity in China dipped into contractionary territory, with the PMI at 49 points in April, bringing the recovery in that sector to a halt and fueling calls for further stimulus on that front. Meanwhile, in the US, futures are in the red. It seems like the 6-day rally on that in that region is set for a pause following disappointing earnings from IT company Super Microcomputers, as well as downbeat job openings data. Then we're coming back home. The JSE closing upbeat in yesterday's session. The All Share up 0.65%, boosted by a 1.6% jump in the Financial 15. Then over in the currency front, the rand stable as the dollar strength caps real gains in the local unit. It is sitting at 18.53 to the greenback this hour.
That's the morning briefs. Ndauling Lechela. She'll be back with one more update for you at about just after 8:30 here on the morning brief.
Switch to stream with SABC Plus. No subscription fees. Stream anywhere, anytime. Zero subscription fees. Download SABC Plus on Android or iOS and watch the Betway Premier Soccer League, the English Premier League, and the Bundesliga live. You can also catch up with Uzalo, Skim Sam, Generations on demand, and listen to your favorite radio stations live. Ukhozi, Umhlobo Wenene, Radio 2000 and 5FM, all for free. Switch to stream with SABC Plus now. No subscription fees. Stream anywhere, anytime with SABC Plus.
What matters is still coming up. It's a massive football rivalry. It is one of the biggest football derbies in the world. Amakhosi clashes with the Buccaneers at the Calabash. This is the Betway Premiership. Experience the Soweto Derby, Kaizer Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 3 May at 2 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
He called himself a king. Others call him dangerous. Andrew Tate, the man who groomed the world. The shocking documentary that uncovers how one man built an empire of influence and manipulation. From viral videos to global headlines, discover the truth behind the persona and the impact on millions of young minds. Andrew Tate, the man who groomed the world. Thursday, the 1st of May at 10 p.m. on S3. Open up.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, I want to start with this call from Elijah Mhlanga. You know Elijah is the spokesperson for the Department of Basic Education. And just some context to the call from Elijah is that, the nationwide search for the 3 Free State police officers, which has now ended in tragedy following the discovery of their bodies, can't have been easy to watch for the family and friends of missing couple, journalist Thulasizwe Simelane and his partner Zodwa Mdluli. They have been missing now, and Elijah will tell us a bit more about that, for more than 72 days. And so Elijah called through to try and bring that issue back onto the spotlight. Good morning to you, Elijah. Please go ahead. 72 days, am I correct?
Yeah, Thulasizwe, good morning. Thank you very much. Yes, it's correct. It's 72 days today since they disappeared on February 18th, and it's been very difficult for the families, particularly the mother of Thulasizwe, our colleague, brother, and friend, who runs a community radio station based in Mamelodi. The mother cries every day, and the children are not okay. The family has not been okay ever since. So it's difficult because there's no clue, there's no evidence, there's no one, even though a reward of 50,000 rand has been put forward, but the information coming through is not helping. So I was just saying that, we convey our condolences to the families of the police officers and all those others who were found there. And we commend the police for working very hard to conclude the matter with the speed that they've been able to do it. But at the same time, we are urging them to try resolve this one, so that the families can have closure as well.
So a few days ago, the family got a visit from Premier Panyaza Lesufi, and there were questions about whether or not the police remain fully engaged with resources dedicated to this investigation. What's the sense that the family is getting? Do the police remain actively seized with trying to resolve this situation?
Yeah, I can tell you that the family is frustrated because the persons we're talking about here, they went missing from Mhlanga, KwaMhlanga in the Mpumalanga side, and he was working in Mamelodi. So you have the Mpumalanga police and the Gauteng police on the matter. There are 2 cases opened, one in Gauteng, the other in Mpumalanga. But you can see that the pace is not the same on both sides. And sometimes you expect questions from this side, you refer to the other side. So that's what is causing a confusion, especially for the family, because it's like you're expecting, a report or an update from both sides. So that's why we're trying to help, and we're happy that the Premier of Gauteng visited the family and he gave them a briefing based on what he knows. But at the same time, when day in, day out, there's nothing that is coming through. It just extends the pain and the grief, because the anxiety is just getting too much. So I thought I should just bring that to your attention as well, and we really appreciate this opportunity.
All right, thank you for that. That's Elijah Mhlanga, the spokesperson of the Department of Basic Education. He's one, of course, he's one of the coordinators of a media forum, the African Media Forum, which is an interface between communicators and journalists, and therefore has been active in supporting the family of Thulasizwe Simelane and his partner Zodwa Mdluli, who have been missing for 72 days. Let me take a call from Max in Pretoria. Good morning to you, Max. You want to talk about the police officers, the ones whose bodies were found yesterday?
Good morning, Thulas, and thanks for taking my call. But on the small scale to that Mr. Elijah Mhlanga just alluded now, look at the double standard, Thulas. When is the police missing? Within a week, they've been discovered. We know what happened over there. I don't think that the resources were put enough for those 2 journalists who are missing now in Mamelodi. I think the double standard that our government are prioritizing towards their own and the public, that makes the difference. But my reason for calling the manner in which the media is being treated sometimes it's not fair to us. When those 3 police officers were missing, the police management asked the media to circulate all their photos all over, but when they are being found, the media are being dictated which one to show, which one not to show. I saw almost an altercation yesterday in that situation where it was almost the media. They wanted the media to be chased away. You see, but it was the same media who highlighted this situation. My last parting point is the wasteful situation that is happening all over. If we didn't know about the 37 million rental that the government of Gauteng is doing, how many of those situations are happening that we don't know? While they've got a lot of building hijack in Johannesburg, they can't go there. They better pay 35 million per month, while a lot of us were suffering.
Thank you for that, Max, raising quite a number of issues there. And I suppose with the media situation, it becomes a matter of balance, right? At that point, it's all very sensitive. There are families involved. You are respecting their dignity. You are also navigating your own ethics about what is ethical to show on TV as well as to capture in terms of photographs, especially around a crime scene. But at the same time, serving this purpose of bringing the public in and giving you, as extensive reportage as can be afforded in situations that are fluid like those ones. Bushielo, good morning in Pretoria. You want to talk to me about the state of our roads?
Yeah, I want to especially the N1, because I hear that there is a 0 accident fatality, especially towards Limpopo.
Yes.
I would like to praise all the law enforcement agencies that was deployed that side, but let's not forget that I couldn't recall where, but there was once the prayers and lynching ceremony in that road, especially in the Limpopo side. So maybe our parents and the one Almighty have answered our prayers. Let's not forget what they did before.
No, thank you
That's
for
my
that.
parting shot for today.
Thank you for that, Bushielo. Just bringing in that element of spirituality to it all, because people do pray for these kinds of situation. And Bushielo being thankful there, that saying that the prayers maybe have been answered. Let me take 1 or 2 voice notes now.
Trulas, good morning to you. Good morning to your team. Great show always. It's Uncle JJ, the truck driver from Botswana to Johannesburg. Trulas, my condolences to the families who have lost their beloved ones, these police officers. It's a sad story, Trulas. Actually, the investigators must ask those who sent them what happened. It's Uncle JJ, the truck driver.
Thank you, Uncle JJ, the truck driver. Drive safely there. Good friend of the show, just weighing in on the questions. And I suppose that's really where we are. More questions than answers. All of us are waiting to hear what the details are around this situation, because now we're talking 5 bodies that have been found, and there are even more questions about what exactly happened in that situation. Let me take this one. It has to do with the conversation we had earlier on regarding the hearing of the Legal Practice Council into Advocate Dalimpofu.
Morning to us. Hey, never been so disappointed. You asked Professor Isaac Shai a question. He gave a speech that didn't really answer your question. He spent English words saying nothing. Embarrassing you. Embarrassing. Thanks.
All right. I don't know what to say to that. But yeah, we did have that conversation with the NEC member, Professor Isaac Shai, earlier on that has to do with the appearance of Advocate Dalimpofu. Let me actually take that forward and hear from someone else reflecting on that very same conversation.
Good morning, Thulas. It's Lennon Khoidi. Thulas, Professor Shai should not come and tell us that they are being targeted. No one is targeting them. Dalimpofu is known to have been someone who misbehaves and who is arrogant, who doesn't respect other people on their profession. Yet he wants to be respected in his position. They bring in the issue of black here. It doesn't work that way. When you misbehave, you should be called in and come and answer. We as a society also, we are watching them. When they start misbehaving, then we ask ourselves questions. Now today he must just go and clear out and answer for himself. That's all.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see how it all plays out. From what Professor Shaiwa, from his side of the argument, the idea that law and politics can be fully separated, in his words, I think he said that's nonsensical. There's always more to it, according to them. And I'm just simply recapping for the benefit of anyone who didn't hear what the argument was from Pabasa, saying that look beyond the complaint, look beyond what appears to be just regulatory performance of a regulator performing their task, and ask yourself, is there a pattern that targets certain categories of professional, particularly African professionals? That is the argument from their side, and I appreciate hearing from you what you think and what you've made of their take on that matter.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
You can see at school holidays around Gauteng, the volume's a lot less than what you would normally expect for this time on a Wednesday morning. The one standout is really the N3. That's a heavy queue this morning from Alex from London Road all the way through Marlborough Drive and up into Buccleuch interchange. Kransport Pass area between Middelburg and Loskop Dam remains closed. That's the N11 out of action this morning. Haschem tanker crash yesterday. Recovery continues this morning. It'll be the R555 out of Middelburg and then a big loop around to Groblersdal as the alternative route. Durban, the breakdown after Spaghetti Junction running north is cleared, but it's left a major backlog. Alert there for heavy traffic from the cement factory right through Spaghetti Junction on your way very slowly towards Umgena Road. A lot of pressure on the M7 as well this morning from Belleville Road at Queensborough down towards Bel Air and Wakesley. And the crash at Hammersdale is being cleared, so we're just looking at the backlog starting to move off from Key Ridge up through Cliffdale and in towards that Hammersdale area. All lanes have been reopened there. Cape Town police incident, N1 inbound near Lower Church Street. Now that's causing a delay on the N1 coming in from sort of Century City territory, but it's also causing a major pushback trying to get in the highway off Marine Drive. Marine Drive is heavily backed up through Parton Island and back sort of towards the Lagoon Beach area. You might want to come off and use Coburg Road, which is also busy, but will be quicker through towards the N1. But then, of course, if you need the N1, you've got that traffic to get through to Woodstock, so make sure you've got plenty of time. Coming from Tableview, Parklands and Milnerton this morning, Coburg Road heavy, Marine Drive very heavy. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Hashtag your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
It takes a while before these arch rivals meet in the final. But when they do, everything stops. Nabi is confident to delight the Amakhosi fans.
If the fans love Kaizer Chiefs, automatically love Nabi.
While the back-to-back victor, Rivero, chases the third consecutive title.
Whenever it's time to go, we're going with the intention to be competitive, to try to be better than the opponent.
This is the Nedbank Cup final. Yona, Yarona. Witness the Soweto Derby. Gold and Black battles it out with Black and White on Saturday, 10 May at 4:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
It's the catch of the season as our 3 madcap fishing fanatics are back, embarking on even a more exciting adventures across the globe. Get ready for bigger fish, bigger laughs, and more extreme destinations in a series packed with adrenaline-fueled fishing antics and plenty of friendly rivalry. Fishing Impossible Season 2, Fridays at 10 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
It's coming up to 5 minutes to 8. In a major reassurance to millions of South African social grant beneficiaries, Postbank has announced that the SASSA Gold cards will continue to operate without any service disruption past the previously indicated expiry date of the 31st of May. beneficiaries can keep using their gold cards at ATMs, retail stores, and point-of-sale machines, and there is no need to change banks or cards unless instructed by Postbank directly. So it's a bit of a confusing situation. Let's speak to Tamicele, who is the Postbank Chief Commercial Officer. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. I say it's a bit of a confusing situation because until about a couple of weeks ago, the message was one. It was that we are doing away with the gold cards and we are moving to the black cards. And here we are. Is this an admission that the undertaking itself was mishandled such that there was no way of completing it and therefore an alternative needed to be found such that you keep people able to transact?
So good morning, Mpembe, and good morning to the listeners as well. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, it's not so much that it was a too heavy an undertaking, Mpembe. I think for us, we think as we try to fulfill our obligations around regulation, it is always important for us to keep those conversations going. But I think the most important thing is to make sure that there's no disruption in beneficiaries getting their grants. And that's the commitment that we have always made, and we continue to keep that promise. I think this time the point that needs to be taken is that, again, beyond May, for those that had not necessarily taken the black card, they should not despair and they should not panic that their cards will work beyond May. That's the comfort point. Until further notice, of course, when we do resume to replace the black card again.
Is that ever likely going to happen, though, given the experience we've had now? Are you ever likely to return to this process of trying to replace these gold cards?
We already have 1.5 million beneficiaries that are currently getting paid using the black card. So that shouldn't stop us from continuing with it. We definitely will continue and resume to change these gold cards. I think it is important for our beneficiaries to move into more secure chips and cards, as normally would be the case, with any bank where they issue new cards, that you get an upgraded card. So our desire is to get to that point. But I think we want to make sure that the transition is not disruptive. It is smoother for beneficiaries, and that's why we're saying until further notice, as stated.
Someone listening may be wondering, what was the point of it all then, Mr. Cele? If you had security concerns, if there were security concerns, and my understanding is that they were not necessarily raised by yourselves, but you had been alerted that do something about this gold card because it is prone to security breaches. Those remain in place, though, for those beneficiaries that you are saying can now relax and continue to use the gold card.
Yeah, look, I think, Mpembe, we need to put the security piece into context, though, a much broader context, is that any bank that issues new version cards, as your card expires, that card will have better security than the previous card, generally. And this is not different to a post-bank situation, as well. But it does not mean that the card that the consumer is holding is currently susceptible to being defrauded. No, that does not mean that. It just means that you get that extra security, which I think most customers would wait until their cards have expired before they can get, unless they replace them, ahead of that particular time. So I just want to make sure that, that comfort for the beneficiary is clear, because we also don't want to create panic in the system unnecessarily. So, yeah.
So if the security considerations were not the main concern, in that, I get the point you're making that your next bank card will have more features than your current one, and that's standard across the industry. If security was not the main consideration, why were we undertaking this whole project then all along? What was the point of it all?
So the point of it all is really just the fact that when we ordered these, when these cards were issued, they had a similar expiry date. That's the long and short behind it. And with that similar expiry date, is that we had to have all these cards replaced, by a certain time. Some of them, which are currently in circulation, they expire at a future date, like the 2027. So they're still operational in a way that I think is expected, and that really is the position that we've been stressing over the last couple of months behind it. Now the question is to yourself is. To us rather, do we want to replace these cards? Of course, we want to do them as soon as possible because we do not want to run a project that's endless. And so we do want to close this as soon as possible. And we're saying until further notice. That further notice is a short period. It doesn't mean that it's indefinite as well. So I think it's just for the beneficiaries to bear with us.
Yeah.
But we also don't want to give them a notification at a very late stage, and then they are on a panic, as well. This is really about giving them the comfort that their funds will continue to be paid through the current card.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That is Tamicele, who is the Postbank Chief Commercial Officer. Let's check in now with Ann Musa with the latest news.
In our top stories, Godongwana to brief media on the budget process and Rwanda's foreign minister facilitating SADC troops out of the DRC. Good morning. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will this afternoon brief the media on the technical process to be undertaken regarding the 2025 budget. His deputy ministers, David Masondo and Ashor Surupan, as well as the Director General, Dr. Duncan Peterser, will accompany Godongwana at the media briefing in Pretoria. This follows a court challenge that the DA and EFF had brought into the Western Cape High Court against the proposed VAT hike in the budget. The court ratified an agreement reached on a few days ago, allowing Godongwana to rescind the increase, which was initially set to take effect tomorrow. The families of the 3 police officers who died on their way from Bloemfontein to Polokwane say the discovery of their bodies has given them some closure. The bodies were retrieved from the Hinops River in Centurion. 2 more bodies, including that of an SAPS member, were retrieved from the river. Police are investigating a case of culpable homicide. Paul Sonoge, the father of one of the deceased officers, says he's relieved that his daughter's body has been found. Meanwhile, police are still searching for the vehicle in which the deceased officers had been travelling in. The officer's vehicle was last seen travelling in the northern direction on the N1. National Police Commissioner Fani Masimula.
The search is still continuing as we have not yet found the vehicle. Our investigation is continuing. We do not want to speculate at this stage. We have partially some closure in that we found the 3 members or 4 members, and we are still continuing the search with a view to find the vehicle, and the investigation will reveal as to what has happened. We do not want to jump into conclusions, but at this stage we can say yes, we have seen where the vehicle went into, the embankment went into the river.
Rwanda's foreign minister has confirmed he is facilitating the movement of SADC troops and equipment from the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo through his country and into Tanzania for repatriation. SADC terminated the deployment of its troops to the DRC last month. Operations were halted due to a major advance of Rwandan-backed M23 rebels in eastern DRC. Showan Price Peace reports.
Rwanda's Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhungirehe confirmed to SABC News that they were providing safe passage to Sami DRC and the equipment from their troop-contributing countries, which include South Africa, Malawi and Tanzania. SADC decided to terminate its deployment in eastern Congo following the deaths of 17 soldiers, bringing their December 2023 deployment to help restore peace in eastern Congo in support of the DRC government to a rapid end. Sami DRC troops were confined to their bases for months following the Rwandan-backed M23 advance in the region. Reports suggest the Sami DRC convoy will travel to Chato in northwestern Tanzania before repatriation to various countries.
And finally, US President Donald Trump has agreed to hold talks with Mark Carney, who was re-elected as Canada's Prime Minister in a poll that the US President dominated. Trump's tariffs and threats of annexation have been credited with helping Canada's Liberal Party to secure a fourth term. The BBC's Luz Doucet has the details.
The fact that they have secured a fourth term with a novice politician, Mark Carney, the central banker and economist turned politician, has led this country with his mantra of Canada Strong, presenting himself the man who can protect the country in a time of crisis, most of all against the threats of President Trump, not just to level the tariffs, which are already having an impact here, but also the fact that President Trump keeps mentioning how Canada would be better off as the 51st state.
Recapping the top story, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will this afternoon brief the media on the technical process to be undertaken regarding the 2025 budget. His deputy ministers as well as the Director General will accompany him at the media briefing in Pretoria. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, if you're driving down through Midrand, coming out of Pretoria on your way to Joburg this morning, you may well be thinking that you've misjudged things and it's the public holiday today because there is very little traffic around. The N1 is clear. If you're just leaving Pretoria, you'll get to Joburg in absolute record time for a Wednesday morning. The big standout in Joburg is the N3. That's heavy today from Alex from London Road all the way up into Buccleuch Interchange. Durban's N2 North stays heavy this morning from Cement Factory up through Spaghetti Junction towards Westwood Mall. There was a broken down vehicle earlier this morning. It has been clear, but that traffic taking forever to clear through. I wouldn't be surprised if something else is broken down in that queue. The M7 heading towards the Bluff, that's heavy from Queensborough down to Bel Air and Wakesley, and a cash in transit heist incident a little bit earlier this morning around Mega City. Behind that, there's some heavy pressure in the Umlazi area. And then Cape Town, the N1 Intertown, a police incident by Lower Church Street at Woodstock. Looks like that's probably been lifted. Traffic is flowing a lot better now from Century City through towards the city centre. It's busy, but it is moving. But Marine Drive is the big one. Marine Drive heavy this morning through Pardon Island to get into the N1. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
It's a very good morning to you in your SAFM Sports Headlines. Soccer action as Orlando Pirates face Sekhukhune United. Will post-CAF fatigue play the villain at Orlando? We'll find out, as well as bring you the latest from Madrid post their power outage. That's the Madrid Tennis Open. All this and more just before 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's coming up to 8 minutes after 8 on this Wednesday, the 30th of April, 2025. We're into the third hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM. A quick recap of some of the conversations that we've started. I'm really keen to hear from you, your reflections about the governance of Netball South Africa. And I know that this is not one of those sports that is always under the spotlight, but it should be. I mean, they had a moment of brilliance and a moment from which they could have built when they hosted the Netball World Cup in 2023. But if you have watched the hearings in Parliament yesterday of the Sports, Arts and Culture Portfolio Committee, you will have seen the performance of the administrators of both Netball South Africa as well as the Netball World Cup Local Organizing Committee in just not being able to account about the closeout report, for example, of a tournament that took place 2 years ago. There's still no final closeout report with financials. As a result, they faced pressing questions. The DA's MP, Liam Jacobs, really pressing them about items of expenditure that are reflected in what they presented in Parliament. Not a proper report, but what they presented had items that were just not being explained. Money being spent on an influencer that no one could say, who's this influencer and what was the money for? NSA condolences that no one could really account for. T-shirts, equipment not accounted for, etc., etc. I'm really keen to hear from you. We had a conversation earlier on with Mimi Mthethwa, the former Netball South Africa, who talked to us about that. And of course, we continue to reflect on this story. And I want to bring you this clip. It's the discovery yesterday near Centurion of the bodies of those three missing constables, the constables who were missing since last week. Yesterday, we got the bad news. It's not the ending of the story that many of us were hoping for. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, confirming that among those 5 bodies that were discovered, 3 of them are the bodies of those missing constables. So take a listen to what the National Police Commissioner had to say on that yesterday.
Our investigation and the search led us to Henops River, where we are standing now, with the assistance of our drones, the cybercrime unit, the DPCI, the crime intelligence, counterintelligence, the Gauteng traffic air wing, the Bidvest Protea coin security. We found pieces of vehicle parts believed to be of a Volkswagen Polo along the N1, just where we were now, next to the bridge. And we started searching the river, and still yesterday, and we found a Renault Kango panel van. Our subs and Swane divers immediately commenced with the search. There we discovered 2 bodies. One was that of a driver of the Renault panel van, who it just came to light that it is one of our employees attached to Littleton Police Station. This employee, according to the wife, visited friends around the area on Saturday afternoon, and he did not come back. The wife do confirm, however, that by Sunday morning around 2 o'clock, she checked the track of the vehicle and she saw the vehicle is 1 kilometer away from the house. They stay around Henops Park. And she never doubted anything, unfortunately. She did not report him missing until yesterday, where after a passerby alerted police that there is a vehicle in the river, and our search and rescues then went to search and found the body. That's when she was informed that she acknowledged that it was her husband. So to go back to our 3 policemen, as I said yesterday, we found 2 bodies. And then, because it was dark, we had to abandon the search and proceed today. And this morning we found the 3rd body, which was discovered, which believed to be that of Constable Linda. We further found a decomposed body, which we are still trying to identify. We don't know who this person is. And later this afternoon, we certainly found the 5th body, which was confirmed to be that of Constable Base. The families, I briefed them earlier, but when I briefed them, by that time we have yet found Constable Base, but they have since went to the mortuary where they all identified their loved ones. The search is still continuing, as we have not yet found the vehicle. Our investigation is continuing.
Yeah, so that was General Fani Masemola speaking yesterday there as part of the extensive and stellar reporting of my colleague Criselda Lewis, who was on the scene reporting live throughout the afternoon into the evening yesterday. As I said, for me, this leaves more questions than answers. And I suppose it's only appropriate that caution is urged such that we don't speculate, but it will be important for police officers, the police SAPS, to keep us updated as the investigation unfolds, because now we're talking 5 bodies. One of them, we're told, is in a state of decomposition, suggesting it's been there for a while. Then there's a second vehicle that was now found in that area around the Henops River. A lot of questions that still need to be answered. In a moment, I'll take your calls on this and other issues.
Your Sunday nights are about to get big on S3. We have some of the biggest movie titles that will take you on adventures that you simply cannot miss. Thomas arrives in a glade at the center of a giant maze. The race to escape the maze leads him to a journey. Should they escape, all questions will be answered. Tune into The Maze Runner, Sunday, the 27th of April. Maze Runner Darth Cure on the 4th of May. Maze Runner The Scorch Trials on the 11th of May. S3 Blockbuster Movies, Sundays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
After a 2-0 away win earlier this season against Ipswich Town, the Toffees are confident of another victory.
Batters it beyond Murrich, and Everton lead at Portman Road.
Meanwhile, the Tractor Boys believe the only way to make pressure mild is to triumph.
Far post is Ben Johnson. It's 2-0 Ipswich. What on earth is going on?
This is the Premier League. Catch the superb clash between Everton FC and Ipswich Town FC. The Saturday 3 May at 3:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let the conversation flow. Let me start with Peggy in Mpumalanga. Good morning to you, Peggy. The issue of netball in South Africa on your mind?
Ngoni, how are you?
Very well, how are you?
Very good. We missed you yesterday, but let's soldier on.
Yeah.
Ngoni, I'm tempted a little bit to touch on the police issue before the netball, but due to time constraints, I'm going to be very brief. Ngoni, the issue of the police, I'm very worried with the commander who did send the 3 constables on their own without a senior commander. And going to this detachment without having maybe at least 2 or 3 motor riders. And you look at the distance from Free State to the Limpopo province. It leaves much to be desired with our police strategies and the police intelligence as far as this matter is concerned. However, I wanted to put my contribution with regards to the Netball South Africa. SASCOC is to be grossly blamed because you will know that SASCOC is the body that is looking into all the sporting codes of like netball, and it's an accounting office, and that has at the end of the day make sure that administratively everything is intact. What worries me the most is that when the World Cup netball came to South Africa, everybody was excited. And we didn't hear of an LOC that will explicitly state the roles of the different persons that will be working and where that will be accountable. That is why it is very tough and difficult, because this was a one-man show where one person will be saying that this has to be done this way and this has to be done this way. That is my contribution to you today.
Thank you for that. Have a lovely day. That's Peggy there in Mpumalanga, weighing in on 2 matters. Let me go to David in Pietermaritzburg. Good morning to you, David. You want to talk to me about the employment of foreign nationals in South Africa?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Firstly, you know that whenever recruitment processes are not followed to the latter, the appointment of any candidate is reversed. So here, I think the policy states that if a department or a company wants to employ a foreign national, they must write a letter to the Department of Labor and indicate that they've exhausted all avenues and they are unable to source a suitable candidate who is a South African.
Sure.
Therefore, they would like to employ a foreigner.
Yeah.
And I think there are conditions, again, of employing that particular foreigner. So it has come to our attention that some departments are not following that procedure. You will recall recently in Parliament, the member of Patriotic Alliance was probing the employment of a foreigner. I think it was the UCT.
Yes.
And it was stated categorically clear that the department was not informed about that employment. Therefore, an audit should be conducted, and such appointments that have been made must be reversed.
Right. David?
Yeah, because I think.
Yeah. Because you think, finish that thought.
Yeah, because another thing, an audit must be conducted because it's clear that there are lots of appointments that are being made. You'll recall that a Ghanaian was appointed as a chief procurement in SNDF.
Yeah. All right,
Yes.
David. Thank you for raising that. I've got to move on. That's David in Pietermaritzburg. Let me take a call from Prophet OJ in Mahikeng. Good morning to you, Prophet OJ. You want to talk about the state of our roads?
Yes, Thulasizwe. It has been long. Thank you.
It's
very
been
much.
a while.
Good morning.
We missed you.
I'm saved by the blood of God Jesus Christ. Look, Thulasizwe, if you count the number of vehicles that are driving on our roads, and then you check how much money each vehicle is paying every year, and this money, to my understanding, was meant to construct good roads and maintain them. So if you drive a car here in Mahikeng or anywhere in South Africa, you hit against a pothole and the roads are broken. The first question that comes to me is, where is this money you are paying every year for the cars going to? Because this money is actually meant for one purpose: road construction and road maintenance. It's paying to repair my car every month when it is damaged by these roads, and at the end of the year I pay this levy. So I think somebody must account. Somebody must tell us, where is this money going? Why is the state of the roads like this? And somebody must tell us. I think it's time now for our authorities to account and to respond positively to what happens to our money. This monster called corruption might be behind why roads are like this and not paying money.
Professor OJ, thank you. I can't agree with you more. If only we had more responsiveness when people are raising their plight, and talking about the conditions under which they live, in this particular instance, under which they drive. And you had people then coming through and taking us into their confidence that when will we start seeing that situation changing? What exactly is being done? Because a lot of times people then feel like nothing is being done about the poor state of roads that they drive on. Eddie in Cape Town, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about Action SA this morning?
Yes, good morning to us and good morning to the listeners. Yes, but Mr. Thomas, before I can go to this issue of Action SA,
all right, I do believe we've lost Eddie there. Let's leave it there for now. I don't know what happened, but we'll try and figure it out and come back with more of your calls a bit later on.
It's the catch of the season as our 3 madcap fishing fanatics are back, embarking on even a more exciting adventures across the globe. Get ready for bigger fish, bigger laughs, and more extreme destinations in a series packed with adrenaline-fueled fishing antics and plenty of friendly rivalry. Fishing Impossible Season 2, Fridays at 10 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let me take one or two of your voice notes now and hear what you've had to say. A few people reflecting on the conversation we had earlier on about the appearance before the Legal Practice Council of Advocate Dalimpofu, which is scheduled for today.
Morning, Thulasizwe. It's Chris in Pietermaritzburg. When are we stopping this black victimhood notion? Guys, we can never be taken seriously unless we take ourselves seriously. We need to up our standards. When we are found at fault, we must have the courage to say, I am sorry. Dalimpofu's behavior has been in the public domain. We see it on TV every time. Let him go and explain why he believes these are frivolous. Even the way he responds itself, it shows why the charges have been preferred against him.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for that. That's Chris in Pietermaritzburg. They're weighing in on that conversation a bit earlier on about Advocate Dalimpofu and just the belief by Pabasa that there's more to it than just merely upholding discipline within the legal professions. Let me take one more voice note. It says it's about Professor Thuli Madonsela.
I believe it's also misleading to give the impression that charges have been withdrawn because they were probably unjustified. For example, in the case of Advocate Madonsela, she just said she doesn't want to go back there. So let's not make it as if they've been withdrawn because probably they realized that it was not necessary for them to have laid the charges in the first place. Debbie, thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And thank you for making that point. I suppose we'll find out the fuller details when the hearings get underway as to what was really at play and what were the reasons why the charges were withdrawn. As we were told by Pabasa that some of the charges have been withdrawn. You'll remember that initially there were 7 charges of misconduct that had been leveled against Advocate Dalimpofu, and we're hearing from Pabasa that some of those have actually been withdrawn by the Legal Practice Council itself. So we look forward to hearing a bit more as the hearings get underway, which is scheduled for today.
So everyone who has speak conference is speaking as if it's a victory that is a product of their agreement of 30 days to seek alternatives. Doesn't include any alternative revenue generation mechanism proposals by any political party, because the Minister of Finance says that the VAT hikes are going to be offset by expenditure cuts.
And that's reaction from the EFF, their spokesperson there, Sinao Tambo. We joined on the line by economist Klanti Pai.
More improvements now have to come to the other parties who seem to have better ideas, because it's difficult to see how the minister now is sort of, changes unless we are going to face new kinds of discussions and debates around how we reduce expenditure.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Has Ramaphosa said anything that for you stands out, keeping in mind the point you made? South Africa maybe doesn't need to punch above its weight, but certainly needs to punch at its weight, but to do that effectively.
Yeah. Russia is clearly trying to, drag South Africa closer into its orbit. There's also China, and that's once again we're talking about within this BRICS grouping. I think by meeting with Zelensky, Ramaphosa is sending a very strong message that South Africa cannot be taken for granted. It is no one's, automatic ally or someone that you would expect to carry water for them. It will set its own foreign policy course. It will meet with whoever it wants, and I think that is to be commended.
Peter Zalmayev, the director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative.
You're listening to the National Pulse. Find the podcast at safm.co.za.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you once again. So you are saying this is going to be a blockbuster night in the... did you say DSTV?
It's a bit way premiership.
You see now you're trying to throw me off.
I know.
It may be 8:30, but I'm wide awake.
Yes, you are, Thulas. Full marks for effort there. I must agree. But you know what? I think we're just going to focus on the sport, talk about the Buccaneers. They're returning to Orlando Stadium to face Sekhukhune United. Just days after their CAF Champions League exit, the Buccaneers will want a strong response, especially with the Soweto derby looming this weekend. And we also got Mamelodi Sundowns. They're fresh, beating Al Ahly. They will host Richards Bay at Loftus as they continue their march towards yet another league title. With a 9-point lead, the Brazilians can stretch their dominance, but fatigue may be creeping in as well. Meanwhile, Stellenbosch FC, still buzzing from their stellar run, will take on Chippa United. A win tonight could keep their CAF qualification hopes alive. Also, South Africa's under-20, they'll be taking part in the Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt. They'll take on Tanzania in Group A at the Suez Canal Stadium, 6 p.m. and looking forward to that encounter. And there's cricket with Tasman Brits scoring a brilliant 109 in Colombo. But her heroic knock, not enough. The Proteas women falling 15 runs short against India in their ODI Tri-Series opener. Brits retired hurt with cramps after reaching her century. Now, South Africa's next match is on Friday, same venue against the host nation Sri Lanka, and they'll be hoping to right the wrongs and show some positives.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of positive. I think in any game, whether you win or lose, you can always take positivity out of it, which actually Mandla, our coach, came to a few of our goals and said we might have lost today, but there were a lot of positivity, or a lot of positives to take out. So yeah, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure we take those catches. We've got to make sure we're hitting the right line and lengths, and same thing with the batting. We've got to make sure we keep the momentum going. Up front, the momentum was quite wild, but the middle period, I think we lacked to rotate a bit more.
Moving to the Kolkata Knight Riders, boosting their hopes of qualifying for the Indian Premier League playoffs. They beat the Delhi Capitals by 14 runs after being held to 204 for 9. This was a fast start. KKR removed the Capitals' top 3 inside 7 overs. Faf du Plessis and the Capitals captain Axar Patel rebuilt to 136 for 3 with a fine partnership of 76. Axar was caught at the cover for 43. South Africa's Tristan Stubbs as well bowled for 4 balls later, and du Plessis caught at deep mid-wicket for 62. On to rugby, and the 7 speedster Gino Cupido will feature in a Riley Norton-led junior Springboks lineup against Argentina in their Under-20 Rugby Championship opener in Gqeberha. It's the second match of a doubleheader at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium following the clash between the defending champions New Zealand and Australia. And finally, more rugby. Les Kiss will replace Joe Smith as Australia's head coach in 2026 and will lead the Wallabies in their home Rugby World Cup the following year. Australian Kiss will become the Wallabies' 5th head coach in 7 years, leading his country, saying it will be an honour of a lifetime.
We'll find the solutions together. This is a country that expects a lot in the sporting market for sure, and I'm very clear with what I want to be able to do with that team, but I know that the continuation that we're building here, the players have a lot of confidence in what's happening in Australian rugby at the moment. I'm not here to rip and tear. I'm going to make sure I dovetail with much as I can, and I'll bring my points of difference into play. But we have a lot of things in common. So I have a lot of confidence that the governance process and the way that we operate in a high-performance program here is fantastic.
And we'll tackle more sport on SFM around 12:30 with John Hedeker. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, police say the vehicle of the 4th SAPS employee, whose body was also found in the Henops River in Centurion, could have ended there from another location. A search for the 3 police constables who went missing last week led to the discovery of 2 more bodies. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will this afternoon brief the media on the technical process to be undertaken regarding the 2025 budget. And the City of Cape Town authorities say they've scaled back their firefighting efforts in the Table Mountain National Park. Temperatures dropped overnight and there was mist and drizzle in the affected areas. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's quite amazing across Gauteng. It looks like today is, in fact, the public holiday. There is very little traffic, negligible delays. The only one that really stands out is the N3. That's pretty heavily backed up. It's a broken down vehicle, top of the highway at Buccleuch. Traffic all the way back behind that towards Alexandra. It's a very heavy backlog. Durban's N2 this morning between the M7 and Westwood Mall stays fairly busy. A couple of breakdowns earlier in the roadworks, and that traffic coming up just really struggling. It should be clear by this time of morning, but it's not. Coming out of Pietermaritzburg to Durban, all clear. Don't forget overnight tonight, if you're arriving into Durban on a sort of long weekend break, with tomorrow being a holiday, the N3 between Pavilion Mall and Spaghetti Junction will be closed from 8 p.m. this evening until 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. It was closed overnight last night. That repeats tonight as well. So you'll come off at Spine Road and then you'll be shipped onto some alternative routes. So just keep that in mind. If you can get into Durban before sort of 8 o'clock, you'll get straight through. After that, you'll have to divert. Cape Town Marine Drive stays heavy through Parton Island onto the N1 highway, and the N1 from Marine Drive slow as you approach the elevated freeway. Also, just an update from Mpumalanga. The N11 stays closed. That's for Hazchem tanker crash recovery just south of Kransport Pass. Now, that effectively closes the N11 until further notice for straight-through traffic between Middleburg and Groblersdale. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling Lechela. Ndauling, this is not the kind of news that I want to hear. Tell me about take-home pay. You're saying that it dipped slightly in March.
Especially before a public holiday, hey? Because
Right?
we all know that on public holidays
we want cash in our pockets, man. Come on.
Unfortunately, this coming at our loss with take-home pay slightly dipping in March, and this is according to the BankServ Take-Home Pay Index. The average nominal take-home pay dropped to 17,811 in March, down 2.5% from February's 18,272 rands. But the good news is that this is still 11.4% higher than the same period last year. So we are seeing a monthly decline and not necessarily an annual decline. Now, despite the monthly decline, salary earners remain better off in real terms compared to the previous year. Adjusted for inflation, real take-home pay fell 2.9% month on month, but remained 8.1% higher on an annual basis. The decline in take-home pay is being attributed to growing economic pressure from domestic and global developments, including escalating global trade tensions and local political uncertainty. But the decision to scrap the proposed VAT increase offers some relief. Independent economist Elise Kruger notes that the moderation in consumer inflation has also positively impacted the purchasing power of salary earners, with inflation forecast to average 3.4% in 2025. Kruger expects positive real take-home pay growth supporting demand in the economy this year. Kruger further noted that with the declining inflation, there are increased hopes that the SARB at its next meeting in May could possibly lower interest rates. But however, we still do have those international risks, of course, on the horizon. So we might not necessarily see reduction in rates. We could see another pause.
Yeah, we live in hope, Ndauling. We live in hope.
Crossing fingers and toes.
But that's not helped when even the costs and prices of products such as beef, we're told, is soaring. Tell me what's behind that.
So if you are planning, on hosting a braai this coming weekend, tomorrow, just a heads up, you could be paying a little extra for beef, and this as a shortage of slaughter-ready cattle and rising feed prices are driving up beef prices in supermarkets and butcheries. Now, the heavy rainfall in key production regions has reduced cattle supplies, while increased feed costs have contributed to the price hikes. According to findings in a News 24 article, retailers like Woolworths, Shoprite have confirmed the impact of the wet weather on beef supplies. The drought late last year led to an increase in cattle slaughter, resulting in a current shortage of slaughter-ready cattle. Now, demand for beef is also recovering, which is expected to lead to moderate price increase in the coming months as well. Some butcheries also reached out to News 24 complaining about the market conditions, with one operator citing a 32% increase in the price of beef carcasses, which the butcher then said he would have to pass on to consumers. But the CEO of the Red Meat Industry Services, Devald Oliver, says the current supply squeeze will correct itself in the coming months. Now, when looking at the latest producer price inflation index, the meat and other meat products index increased 4.6% in March, but it is also important to note that that index is not just limited to beef and includes chicken, pork, and other meat products.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that, Ndauling. So lastly then, what kind of a day can we expect on this Wednesday?
So local markets likely to extend gains this morning following international peers. In terms of company news, there's a production update from diversified miner Glencore and an auction sales report from Gemfields. Then zooming in on currency action, trade muted on that front With the stronger dollar capping gains in the rand, the local unit is sitting at 18.54 to the dollar this hour. Then moving over to Wall Street, futures are in the red. This as job openings declined in March, raising concerns about the job market and the resilience of that market. This print, of course, comes ahead of the all-important non-farm payrolls report, which is due on Friday. Lastly, over in Asia, markets mostly in the green. Some nervousness coming through, though, after Chinese factory activity slipped into contractionary territory in April.
Right on the money as always. That's how Ndauling Lechela. She's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets over the last 3 hours.
In times like these, everyone is looking to save wherever they can. But you don't have to be a detective to know that with Outsurance, you could be saving big on your car insurance. Hear it from real Outsurance client Marius.
The great big saving that I've got, 765 Rand, 27% a month on my premium. It's so quick and easy to swap over. I am part of the Outsurance family.
It's a no-brainer. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Saving on car insurance makes you feel like a winner. And the best part is, if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
This season, the truth cuts deeper than ever. Silent Witness is back for its gripping 20th season, and no secret is safe. Dr. Nikki Alexander and the Lal Center team dive into chilling murders, dark conspiracies, and personal trials that hit closer to home than ever before. Truth speaks, if you know how to listen. Silent Witness, Season 20, Thursday and Fridays at 9 p.m. on S3. Don't just watch the mystery, feel it. S3.
Dango, for the love of the game and Mzansi for sure.
Sekwenzenjani?
Soccer Zone has relocated to a new slot, 9 p.m. live every Monday on SABC 1. Mzansi Africa.
Fascinating goals.
The unbelievable saves.
From Africa Borwa to the entire African continent to the Bundesliga and the Premier League.
High-level reviews of crucial match scenarios by the legendary Mr. F.
Top-class analysis, latest news about the beautiful game.
And Momish of the Week.
SABC Sport Football Weekend ends on Mondays at 9 p.m. on Soccer Zone.
Live on SABC 1. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. #The Morning Brief.
18 minutes to 9. We want to give you 2 quick stories that will get you excited about developments in science, and especially how science interacts with, our lived experiences on a day-to-day basis and solving some of our day-to-day problems. So let's start with this one. As the fourth industrial revolution reshapes economies and societies, artificial intelligence and innovation are emerging as critical drivers of sustainable development. The Innovation Hub, under the leadership of its CEO, Bangani Mpangalasane, is positioning Gauteng and Africa more broadly as a global leader in inclusive, ethical and climate-smart technological progress. Bangani Mpangalasane, who is the CEO of the Innovation Hub, joins me now to take that conversation forward. Good morning to you, and thank you for making the time. So we're always talking about artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution. But other than talking, what practical application are we finding that you are saying in provinces such as Gauteng is positioning Gauteng and Africa as a global leader in these technologies?
Thank you very much, Thulas. Good morning to you, the team behind the scenes, and the SAFM proud listeners. Just brief, maybe before I come to that, sure. So that just to give a background, the Innovation Hub is an organization that was created by the Gauteng provincial government. It is a subsidiary that is under the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. Our main purpose, really, just in short, is to be a catalyst of economic development by utilizing innovation and other innovative initiatives. Yes, of course. When we look at where we position ourselves as the innovation hub dealing with sustainability goals, we have quite a number of programs that we are running from the innovation hub, which is based at the Linwood Center. We do have 10 Ekasi labs, which are physical replication of the innovation hubs in 10 corridors in Gauteng. Our programs are really trying to focus on sustainability goals, which you may know that they are also linked to the G20, and also how does AI affect those sustainability goals. We are positioning our programs to deal with improved climate modeling. How do we then come up with programs, as we have seen the disasters that has happened throughout the country and throughout Africa and the world? We are now modeling a climate innovation solution. We do have programs that deal with that, with an eminent renewable energy issues. As you may have seen also recently, the Spain issue is not only in South Africa where energy becomes an issue, and AI is suspected to be part of those challenges. We have programs and we've got startups that are doing very well that has actually came up with innovation way in terms of the renewable energy. We are also having programs that deals with smart agriculture. Smart agriculture meaning in the essence where the climate is changing, we don't have electricity, and also the thing. So we are actually having programs that we're currently running where we are combining renewable energy using the machine language to actually detect and reduce water, and also yes.
At what level of applicability are these programs? So, for instance, I see some of the programs you mentioned talk about, for instance, water systems. People listening to this conversation who live in Gauteng will know about the challenges we face regarding the issue of water. At what level are you applying AI solutions and these technologies to directly respond to those, or are we still talking at a point of innovation and testing out an improvement of the technologies?
No, we actually having these solutions as we speak, where for water management, for an example, where we optimize water resource by predicting the availability and also by detecting the water leaks. One of the things that we have recently implemented in one of the high schools in the West Rand, it's the schools that are using the borehole system. We have implemented a solution there that does not require electricity, that automatically purifies water. So we do have programs that deals with water. We just need to extend these programs and ensure that society in the region and across, they actually benefit from these solutions.
And then in terms of applying AI and these technologies to, the economy and improving the productivity and competitiveness of small and medium enterprises in a province like Gauteng, how far is that conversation?
We are having so what we do, part of what we do, we've got a skills development program that we run that is AI and cybersecurity focused. We are encouraging startups within the region to actually utilizing the resources that we have to ensure that they actually are AI enabled. We are in discussions, of course, with the provincial government also at looking at how do we then extend this capability. One of the thing that we have realized, hence I raised the skills development part, is that we can have these technologies, but if from a skills point of view and the adoption point of view, they will then be here. But yes, we are having programs that are indeed driving sustainability through our startups within the region.
Exciting times ahead. Thank you for that. That's Bangani Mpangalasane, who is the CEO of the Innovation Hub.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
The second of those exciting science stories we wanted to bring you has to do with this. In celebration of China's Space Day on April the 24th, a major space science exhibition opened in Shanghai, showcasing the country's growing achievements in space exploration. Running through May the 5th at the Shanghai World Expo Exhibition and Convention Center, the event aims to ignite public interest in space, promote education, and highlight innovation at the intersection of science, culture and the arts. So let's speak to Dr. Adriana Marais, who is the director of at the Foundation for Space Development, who's currently in China. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So this sounds all exciting. Tell us about it. It sounds to me like it was a touch and feel kind of experience with various objects that are relevant to China's space development program being brought to the fore.
Good morning, Tulas, or should I say good afternoon from here in China. The founding director of the Foundation for Space Development Africa and I were in Shanghai for the event, and more than just promoting China's massive achievements in space over the last 10 years and more, international projects to fly to the moon with the Chang'e 8 mission were announced. So I am delighted to announce to everyone who is listening that our Africa to Moon radio telescope mission will be landing on the moon with Chang'e 8 in an upcoming Chinese mission. So this is actually Africa's first mission to the moon, and we are delighted to be preparing the next steps before the telescope will go to the lunar South Pole to do new science, demonstrate our new instrument, and inspire the next generation of African innovators, scientists, and dreamers.
That truly is amazing news. Say a bit more about it then. It's a Africa to Moon mission, and you're saying it works with the Chang'e 5 capsule. Tell me about it. It's not a manned mission, is it?
No, so those people hanging on the edge of their seats thinking we're going to the moon personally, we'll have to wait for that.
You were taking
but
me.
Participating, I wish. The mass limit is 15 kilograms. So as much as I could diet, I don't think I will get down to 15 kilograms. That's how much space we have on Chang'e 8. So Chang'e 7 will depart for the moon next year. Chang'e 8 will be the subsequent mission after that. And we really applaud China's collaborative spirit by opening up space on this mission to international payloads. So after a rigorous 18-month application period, our radio telescope has been selected. So this will be the first instrument of its kind. We hope to inspire Africans to do world firsts. It's African designed, African built, especially with the expertise of engineering from the square kilometer array radio telescope that we've built in the Karoo. So we have some of the world's best radio astronomy engineers working on the project. And if it gets to the moon, lands successfully and sends back data, we will be distributing the data around Africa to all of our partners to do new science and, as I said, inspire the next generation of dreamers.
How important is it? I mean, you talk about inspiring the next generation of dreamers. How important are missions such as these and the partnerships with countries like China? And I know that when you partner with China, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, it's not to the exclusion of your traditional partners to the West, for example, partners such as NASA, with the work, for instance, around Artemis.
Well, China has been successful in mission after mission to the lunar surface. We are delighted to have such a reliable partner. Let me not say too much, but the last NASA mission to the moon was in 1972.
Sure.
Then Intuitive Machines, a private company, landed a lander there last year, which was partially successful. So I don't need to say more about who's perhaps winning the space race at this point. But both NASA and partners and China and partners, and our foundation is a partner on the plans to build crewed bases on the surface of the moon. Now, this is scheduled to happen this decade, so before 2030. So it remains to see which crews will get there first, but we believe it's time for Africa to expand our participation in space exploration, and sending technology to the surface of the moon is, of course, a necessary first step to the challenges that the environment there poses, such that we can get our foot in the door to really have the next generation of aspiring astronauts really represent Africa in the permanently inhabited research bases that are planned for the lunar surface.
Absolutely exciting. Thank you for sharing those developments with us this morning. That's Dr. Adriana Marey, who is the director at the Foundation for Space Development Africa, as well as the head of science at the Foundation's Africa to Moon mission.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still slow and like up Joburg's N3 through Limbo Park up in towards Buccleuch interchange. There was a breakdown there this morning. Looks like it may have been cleared, so it's a recovering queue rather than one that's getting worse. And Bayers Nordia from Lifestyle heading down towards the M1 highway on your way towards Cresta, if you like. That's quite slow. Pretoria through Midrand on your way along the N1, remarkably clear this morning. You'll get there on that M1 South in really good time. Heading towards Pietermaritzburg, now a stationary truck around Cliffdale. There's some quite heavy backlogs to work through once you get south of the Hammersdale area. Durban's N2, another breakdown this morning. This one at Spaghetti Junction, so the traffic coming through from the M7 up into Spaghetti Junction, around that vehicle and then into the roadworks remains very heavy. And Cape Town, just a bit of traffic pressure on the elevated freeway as you go into the city centre, the backlog from Woodstock area, and also no traffic lights. Robert Sebukwe and Stellenbosch Arterial Junction, just north of the airport. That's been fairly busy this morning. And just back to Durban, if you're driving in that way for a extended long weekend, tomorrow of course a public holiday, just note the N3 going into Durban will be closed overnight from Pavilion Mall through to Spaghetti Junction. There'll be a full closure just on the inbound side only. It'll be from Spine Road through to Spaghetti Junctions. Diversions will take you off the N3 at Spine Road and ship you on to alternative local routes. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yes, straight away. Let me start with a call from Eddie in Cape Town. Eddie, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about Action SA?
Yes, good morning to us and to the listeners. Yes, the Action SA, recently we saw them in Parliament being on the side of the ANC, you know, to vote against to vote in favor of this budget that was to be voted in.
Yes.
Now, after that day, this budget thing has failed. Now we see actually SA now coming up with the issue of Palapala, that they want to take Ramaphosa to court of Palapala. You know, I'm really thinking these parties that are formed because of the internal conflict, and then people move away and they form their party. And I think these parties mustn't be called parties, and people must be careful when they're voting, because these people, they were some of these as parties, but that's because of the fight they had in their party when they formed the party. Yeah. That means they don't have the humanity in their hearts, you know. I think people need to learn that if to go to vote, they must vote for the party that has been formed from the people that has nothing to do with other political parties, maybe with the internal conflicts of the parties. Gotcha. Or even the background. They don't have any criminalities of stealing money or whatever.
Yeah.
These are the people that are coming up with the consensus of the people. So they want to do something for their people. But these parties that with the leaders, they had disappointments from their previous parties. Gotcha. So this Action SA, really, it's just becoming a bully because they don't know what they do. They do this, they do that.
All right, so Eddie in Cape Town. Thank you for that. That's Eddie there talking about political parties and just the basis of formation of those parties that you should look through to that to see if they are the right party for you to support. Let's speak to Faisal in the Eastern Cape. Good morning to you, Faisal. You want to talk about Advocate Dalimpofu? Yeah.
It's very shocking and surprising. Dalimpofu, he did this thing carrying on for very long. In one case, he told the lady in the court that shut up, he's doing all these things. Now he's got people defending him. This person, in fact, the first time I heard about this organization, I know the Black Lawyer Association, he says that because of their pressure, I didn't say pressure, the case has been thrown because of whatever thing they did. So it seems as if, because it's an open, the Advocate Madonsela, she said long, she's not interested about this matter.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Chief Justice. So if she says that because of their endeavors when what has happened, which means they put pressure. So it's not that. So what is happening?
Sure.
It is past mafia tactics. If cancer does like this, when there was somebody going to go to the court, why? Because they know the laws. Let him go and defend himself and find out from there.
Gotcha.
How can you just say that if they say which means they want to stop the proceeding, must not go ahead?
All
How
right.
can that be right?
Faisal, thank you for that. I've got to move on. And very quickly, Zola, short and sharp for me, please. You want to talk about the employment of foreign nationals?
Yeah, good morning, Gwen.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Yeah, what I've seen around the Free State in Bloemfontein, the scrapyards, the hotel, the tax industry is employing more of illegal foreigners. Now, I'm worried. We are always talking about the high rate of unemployment. If we could focus on employing South Africans, I think we can reduce the number. If we employ foreigners, they must come with a specialized skill, something that we don't have in the country, because this issue of high rate of unemployment can be resolved if South Africans can have confidence in their own, not going for cheap labor, not wanting to pay the minimum wage. Then I think we'll have a direction. I'm very much concerned around Bloemfontein. Even when I was still in Gauteng, you will go to the hotel industry, you find that so many illegal foreigners, and we have kids who have done hospitality, but they are unemployed.
All right.
So I hope Department of Employment and Labor does something about that.
Zola, thank you for that. Thank you for raising that. It's one of the many strands of the conversation, the wider conversation about migration in this country. And you wonder to what extent are those in authority really listening to some of these sentiments that have crystallized into consistent themes, right? Whenever we talk migration, you just know what the themes will be. I'm wondering if it's a conversation between a citizenry and their leaders, or the citizenry is talking and no one is listening, and I don't have the answers to that. That's it, really. That's our full story and our full and final account to you, at least for this morning, in lieu of your morning brief. But don't go anywhere. More quality news, current affairs, and talk programming here on SAFM, starting with The Talking Point with Kete Mohlahlana, and that's immediately after the news.
In our top stories, police update on vehicle of deceased officer, and Godongwana to brief media on the budget process. Good morning. Police say the vehicle of the 4th SAPS employee, whose body was also found in the Henops River in Centurion yesterday, could have ended there from another location. A search for the 3 police constables who went missing last week led to the discovery of 2 more bodies. The 5th body of an unknown woman was found in a decomposed state. National Police Commissioner Fanny Masimula.
At this stage, it doesn't look like there is any link amongst the 3. The other body decomposed was found up the stream. The other body of our groundsman was found far down the river. We don't think that vehicle went into the river here. It might have went in another point, because the place where he went to visit his friends is more towards the other side, towards Waterkloof Air Force Base, and the member also stays in that surrounding.
Finance Minister Ino Godongwana will this afternoon brief the media on the technical process to be undertaken regarding the 2025 budget. His deputy ministers as well as the Director General will accompany him at the media briefing in Pretoria. This follows a court challenge that the DA and the EFF had brought in the Western Cape High Court against the proposed VAT hike in the budget. The court ratified an agreement reached on a few days ago, allowing Godongwana to rescind the increase which was initially set to take effect tomorrow. City of Cape Town authorities say they've scaled back their firefighting efforts in the Table Mountain National Park. Temperatures dropped overnight and there was mist and drizzle in the affected areas. The fire broke out on Friday and stretched over more than 30 kilometers. Fire and rescue spokesperson Jermaine Carlses says the area along Boys Drive into Kalk Bay, around Clovelly and along Ou Kaapseweg into Noordhoek is safe.
At Klein Constantia,